that game so bad. Go on.
All right. Welcome, welcome, one and all to the latest episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. You all know me. I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And we have Sleepy Boy, Jez Corden with us. We're starting a little bit later because he slept through his
Oh, mate.
alarm clock. So
I did.
I honestly thought
My
he wasn't
sleep
showing up. I was like, oh,
yeah.
well, what am I going to do? So,
My sleep cycle is absolutely insane right now, but it's because it's been a bit of a busy week, speaking to people on the
really?
West Coast.
Is it really
Yeah,
bad? I
yeah.
mean, I don't think much happened, did it?
Well,
It's kind
yeah,
of
indeed.
kind of a chill week, you know.
Chill week, slow week, yeah.
I was struggling to find any topics to talk about. It was like, hey, nothing really happened.
Yeah, no big deal. No earth-shattering permanent changes going on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. I think this might actually be the shortest title for the podcast I've ever done because, like, what else is? Yeah, it's like the only thing that's going on the Xbox reset. I kind of think that covers all bases. Yeah. Because I think
Yeah.
primarily, we will be uh focused on that topic. So yeah.
People are saying we sound too quiet and you sound too quiet. Let's
Mm,
adjust.
okay, hold on.
Um, yeah, maybe you need to be a bit louder. I noticed that from our when editing the audio from the last show that you were a bit low compared to me.
All right, hold on.
Let's see what we can do. Chat, bear with us.
Well, just keep on talking. Let me just I'll figure it out in the OBS. Hold on. Sounds recording. I'll boost this up. Okay. All right. I don't know if that's any better. Hopefully it is. I mean, I'm looking at the decibel level on the thing, and it's always seems like it's roughly in the same spot as always is, but I don't know.
Yeah, let us know if that sounds better.
I'll
Oh, Zach
just
said it sounds better.
I'm gonna make myself sound louder. But anyways,
Let's start the show.
yeah, how's your week been?
How's my week been? It's been a very tough week. You know, uh, it's kind of crazy, like because at a sort of microscopic level, a lot of what's happening in the game industry is also happening to the media, right? So, like, we had our budgets cut as well, and we had to say goodbye to even more staff within our company. So it's kind of like it's because I think a lot of companies have their fiscal turnover in July, right? So it just feels like a lot of companies are in chaos right now. Friends I know have been laid off at other industries, and just feels like everything's kind of chaotic economically right now. So it's been a really hard week, but also like I've been speaking to a ton of people who have been, who are still there, who are no longer still there at Xbox, and trying to make sense of some of this wanton chaos, I suppose you could call it. Um, it's all very sad and very, very, very sad. Um, but there are some fiscal realities that I think we all have to live up to. Like in the media, for example, the addressable audience has shrunk. Like a lot of the audience has gone to TikTok and YouTube Shorts and things like that, or Google summary box. And gaming's kind of seeing the same attention reduction as well, right? Um, it's the same kind of scenario: tension reduction, dilution, and then artificial intelligence taking things off the top, right? It's wild, bro. It's a wild time, but you gotta believe things will get better, bro. You gotta believe it. You gotta believe it,
Or you could believe
bro.
that it actually won't get any better.
I mean, you
So
could believe that. You could
I mean,
believe
it
that.
depends on if you're glass half empty or glass half full type of person, I suppose. And
Mm.
yeah. So anyways, start the show. Um, are you doing Surfshark today, Jez?
Indeed.
All
Do you want
right.
to rock that up now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we only got one thing to really talk about, so the faster you get into it, the better, right?
All right, let's get into it then. Do you want maximum internet privacy? Consider Surfshark VPN, this week's epic podcast sponsor. Surfshark VPN is your all-in-one defense for maximum browsing in maximum privacy. Whether you're streaming shows from abroad, chatting online, or browsing the web, Surfshark keeps your data fully protected with lightning-fast speeds and support for unlimited devices. For true internet freedom, Surfshark breaks down digital walls with ease. No more geoblocks, no more limits. Unlock global content, explore without borders, and enjoy a smoother ad-free experience thanks to Surfshark's clean web feature, which blocks ads, trackers, and malware all before they can take a bite out of your day. And with a strict no logs policy and RAM-based servers with advanced encryption, your browsing history will stay firmly with you. So here's the offer. Xbox 2 podcast listeners get an incredible 86% off a 2-year Surfshark plan. That works out to just $2 a month to keep your data away from shady government guangos, trackers, and other types of online annoyances. Take back your online freedom. Hit the link in the description to get started and search safely, surf securely, and surf with Surfshark. There you go.
All right. That's one of your better ones, actually. You're really doing good with the American accent.
Yeah. Well, it helps that I've just slept and woken up, right? So yeah.
Right. Yeah. We also have the wonderful members of the Patreon. We got
We
some
do.
got some shout outs here. Adam Bartolo, Alon Grogu, Asa T and Madison, Battered Haddock, Briggs Country, Bright Tundra 1, Silas, Deku 2511, Skyder Caboose, Enix, Fantasticals, Glenn, Governor Grimm, I am Chuck Dub, I'm Mike Zero, Inner Machine, Jay Foley, James Moore, James Wiseau, Justin Duel, Just James 93, Katrox, Laserwolf, Murray, Pat Rock, Frosty, R.S. Donks, Sean Kramer, Shay Elephant, Shrapnel, The Nordic Cannon, Trixar for Trey, Vito, Wagerman, Wolfgang KPZ, and Youngblood 8. Appreciate all you. And question and answer thread is open. For anybody that wants to drop a line, we will always answer your questions at the end of the show. But anyways, Jez, unless you have any sort of smaller things to talk about, how do you feel about just jumping right into the Xbox stuff, huh?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Is there any smaller things to talk about? I don't even know.
I don't know. I suppose Sony started tweeting again.
I mean, Sony did start tweeting again, and guess what? It seems like they don't care, at least according to Jason Schreier. Yeah, I guess they feel that their fans will, I don't know, accept it in the long run, and they have faith in this and the strength of the brand PlayStation, even though they're getting ratioed every single post. I wonder how, in just regard for that, I wonder how, because they do tweets for third-party games, right? Like Assassin's Creed Resynced, where like the tweet is supposed to be promotion for the game. And I sort of wonder how the third parties feel with like the promotion of their game sort of just being a sounding board for people angry at PlayStation. You know what I mean? Is it sort of like well, any sort of view is a good view because it is getting a massive amount of views? Or is it like, does it turn people off? Like, do people see Assassin's Creed and they're like, I'm not getting that, even though they just announced 2 million players, right? So, what do you think there?
Yeah, it's really hard to say, man. It's really hard to say. If you look at like, I mean, I'm just gonna pop over to if you go to PlayStation's stream now, they're tweeting about a game called Echoes of Aincrad, which is in the Sword Art Online universe. I've not heard of that. There's a community note trying to be pushed through right now, which says purchase warning. Sony's sudden pivot to digital without info partners. Its poor digital ecosystem is pivotal markets. Desperation to erase retail and resale, and executives selling off stock suggests massive corporate instability. This content may not last long. And that's like the community note. And then there's a huge ratio on it: 3,200 comments to 148 retweets and 600 likes. So, and all the replies are clowning on the game. So it does make you wonder, right? You mentioned, did you mention the whole thing with Grand Theft Auto wanting to pull their branding and stuff?
I
And
mean, that was made up.
was it made up?
Oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely. Come on.
but it is kind of interesting though. Like they changed the branding on the app and then pulled it a week later. Like it seems a bit
I mean,
pointless.
the
Almost.
branding was only there for a week.
It's bit pointless, bro.
Not really.
Bit pointless, bro.
Not really.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're just gonna press ahead with it. Jason Schreier reported that Sony expect that it'll blow over. Do you think it'll blow over, or is it just going to become a meme now, where people, anytime Sony puts out a tweet, they're going to be talking about this? Is it going to become associated with their brand that they are the ones who killed this?
Will it blow over? Yes and no. I think for certain people, it'll never blow over, and they'll just constantly respond to PlayStation with memes, and they'll fight the fight, and maybe they switch platforms. But for others, honestly, like, I'm sure you've seen what the number one selling games are on PlayStation right now, right?
I haven't.
The newly released Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 digital versions that they just put out.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh, yeah. Even higher than Grand Theft Auto, apparently.
What?
Yeah, but so a lot of there were a lot of content creators, big content creators in the Twitter sphere that have been banging the drums since the whole physical shit about we need to hold Sony to the fire. And then like the second Black Ops 1 and 2 dropped, they were like, we're so back, with pictures of them buying the game and stuff. And I had a couple PlayStation fans that I talked to that are like, no wonder Sony's not going to say anything because these motherfuckers folded to a 20-year-old game or whatever. Like, of course, you know? So,
well,
I don't know. It's like one of those things where maybe Sony's right that it'll eventually blow over when the PS6 comes out, whether that's next year or the year after. But I don't know. But I think I do think there will be people that are going to be very much, this is my fight. Like John Linneman from Digital Foundry. You know?
right.
Like, he's the type of like, physical means a lot to him. So he may not get into the tweets like every single time, but I could definitely see him being like, screw PlayStation. I only cover PlayStation for my job, right? And otherwise, I'm on PC or I'm on whatever else. There are going to be people like that where physical means a lot, but for other people, yeah, it may just be, it'll go on too long and they won't really care, and, you know, I don't know. Maybe Sony eventually, like when they talk about PS6, maybe they introduce some digital protections. You know, like the positron that Xbox is doing, like just the digital, which according to rumors I heard, you said is coming next week, yeah?
Yep.
So maybe they got something like that in store, but they don't want to talk about it yet because they're not talking about PS6. So you can't really kind of be like, hey guys, here's the bad news, but you know, here's the good news in the other hand. Because I really hope that both Sony and Microsoft give us more digital protections, or like digital for like digital ownership stuff. But I mean, I guess they don't have to, so you sort of wonder like what's in it for them. But yeah, I don't know. Like I see as soon as people started buying Black Ops 1 and 2, I was like, yeah, this thing ain't fun. This thing gonna
You
be long
know,
for the world.
I remember like years ago when there was this big boycott of Call of Duty on Steam for some reason. Was it Modern Warfare 2, I think? Like Modern Warfare 2, I think maybe had some kind of integration with Activision's platform, some kind of DRM on top of Steam. Like I can't remember why, but people were boycotting it, and there was all these like Steam groups that were like boycott Modern Warfare, and then it was like the top selling game, the most played game. This, and a lot of the people who were in these groups, like you could see what their Steam activity is, and they were playing the game. So maybe it is just noise. I mean, Jason Schreier was like, in his report, he was like, Sony's confident that even if they do lose some of the people who prefer physical discs, um, the amount of extra money they'll get from killing used games and going towards digital will completely offset that. So I think it's pure math at this point. But
Well, from
they've
the
got to
X,
be irritated by the brand damage, because I don't think it's going to go away. I think it'll be a meme. It's
sure.
like we moved on from like the core moved on from Game Pass having a price increase, after a few weeks. But like if you went on Xbox's Twitter or their Instagram, all the comments were just like constantly lower the price of Game Pass, lower the price of Game Pass, like for months and months and months. And I think even from people who like didn't even have Game Pass, it was just like the thing that you said under Microsoft's posts for months, right? So I do wonder if I don't know. It's I just wonder if you know it'll have some material impact on Sony's ability to I suppose do social media, but probably not. Probably not. And um Go Away Please says it was a boycott from Modern Warfare 2 in 2009 because they wanted dedicated servers. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't remember exactly what it was.
I also see a lot of people saying that, man, Xbox could pull a reverse 2013 here, where they could say that they're supporting physical discs and be the hero that people need. Um,
Delaying everyone off.
well, yeah, after laying everybody off. But what do you think? What do you think of the likelihoods of Microsoft, one, having a disk drive with the system, or two, having an external one, or just being completely done with physical? Is there a chance maybe they maybe they let like boutique publishers kind of do the disc stuff for them if they don't want to do it
Well,
themselves? Like what are we looking at here? Because to me, I think best case scenario is we get an external disk drive that plays your back and pack games. That's kind of
yeah.
like I don't think because like the system's going to be, well, we assume the system's going to be expensive, and I think they're going to try to cut as much cost as they can to get it into a better price, a more affordable price. And like disk drives, like we're gone. And Xbox is mostly digital, anyways. It's more digital than PlayStation even is. In fact, I think most people thought Xbox would be the one to make this decision,
I did.
right? I sure
I
did.
did.
I never thought it would be PlayStation. So yeah, because we always thought like, man, you got all these people with these huge collections. You're gonna really piss them off if you don't have a way to play your games, and if you have like an external disk drive that you probably don't got to make many of them, and you could juice up the price. They could probably sell for like $150 because why not? Uh, if you wanted to, and then everybody's happy. You could play your back and pack games on it and stuff. Like I sort of feel like that's what the solution they'll go to, right?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to find out like more details about how exactly they're going to handle some of this stuff. So, because I don't know, well, I'm still learning. I'm still learning the sort of the technical the technical aspects of the technical aspects of what what the limiters would be, because I think economically speaking, it's the factories that make these drives are becoming non-viable economically, right? So in order for this to move forward, you need a boutique company that is just passionate about it to take up the mantle. So I was kind of like my questions to someone on the Xbox platform team was like, is there anything stopping a company like Limited Run Games or something spinning up a small factory to do limited runs of discs? And they were like, no, there's nothing stopping that, right? But obviously it would be difficult for them to sort of deliver this because if you're making things in smaller batches and smaller volumes, then you lose the economics of scale, right? So like if you are catering to a smaller audience, you kind of have to charge a premium. It's like vinyl records, for example. Like back in the 80s when vinyl was the default, or the 70s even, when vinyl was the default, you could get like vinyl records for like £5, you know. But like if you buy a vinyl record now, they're like 40 quid, you know, because the economics of scale are not there anymore. So, and then you sort of run into an issue of like, obviously publishers would have to opt into it. Some publishers wouldn't want to opt into it, and then publishers will probably charge a premium because of the economics of scale, and because they're, you know, they can kind of hold a smaller company to ransom. Like if you're talking about a Walmart or something like that, everyone kind of agrees that the price of a disc-based game is $70 or $80, as the case may be in the future. That's what they agree the price is right now. But if you are talking about when you've got like a smaller, more independent run, you know, you're kind of looking at a premium price. So can they charge that? Like there's the retail stuff, the distribution stuff, which developers would even opt into it, you know, all that kind of thing. So I think Microsoft could carve out a win here by allowing some company to take up that mantle. I would I'm probably going to write an article next week about it because it's one of the most upvoted things on the Xbox user feedback site right now, where it's like, can we have some form of physical disc support, right, for Helix? So I think Microsoft could carve out a win here, whether it's like working with independent companies to produce some of that stuff. Producing an optical drive is orders of magnitude more difficult than producing a vinyl record player, though. You know, because having the lasers and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot more complicated than just you could build a vinyl record player at home. You know, it's just a needle at the end of the day. You know, maybe it wouldn't sound that good, but you could do it. You couldn't build an optical drive at home. You know, you need specialist tools and specialist materials and that kind of thing. So it really does depend if any company out there wants to keep making these drives, because right now the only companies that really use drives are Xbox and PlayStation. Your laptop doesn't have a drive in it anymore. Blu-ray players are not really much of a thing anymore. You know, you're already paying a premium for 4K Blu-rays and that kind of thing. So I think the best you can hope for is some kind of external drive, but I think you know, the days are numbered for digital, you know. And honestly, Rand, I don't blame PlayStation. It's you know, it's consumers that chose this at the end of the day. Consumers chose digital. They chose convenience. They chose Spotify. They chose Netflix. They chose convenience, you know. And at some point, you just like the math doesn't math anymore for running these factories,
Yeah,
you
but I
know.
mean, but the same look, I've said it before. I'm all digital, have been for a while. So like, you know, it just the news doesn't bother me at all. But I will say like the idea that consumers chose this, so therefore it's good. When you look at other industries where consumers chose Spotify, but they still make CDs and vinyls, you know, consumers chose Netflix and all the other stuff, but you know, they still make Blu-rays. Uh, like consumers chose ebooks, they still make hardcovers and paperbacks, even though you know, they're trying less to do paperbacks. I know the price increases for these things all the time. So it's like, yeah, consumers may have chose the digital convenience of it, but you know, uh, I don't think it's like that's a reason to be like, well, let's just stop this altogether. I mean, because even if PlayStation is 80% digital, I mean, 20% still a pretty big market. It's just that it's like I think they just want more control. they'll be able to make more money because everything will be a digital purchase. So they'll get more from it. And maybe third parties want. I guess there's a report that third parties didn't know, but third parties would make more because they don't got to get a cut. You don't got to give a cut to the store. You don't got to give a cut to uh the middleman, so to speak. It's just you and PlayStation. PlayStation gets 30%, you get to keep the 70. You don't got to worry about Walmart and stuff. So they may think this is all for the better, kind of like how EA was trying to cut out the middleman during the 360 days with Project $10, where they were like, yeah, we don't want secondhand sales. And then you notice that went away real quick, huh? Like the concern about secondhand sales, like that was the thing the industry was so focused on during the 360 gen was, oh my god, secondhand sales, they're killing us. And then like digital showed up and people kind of moved in that direction, and then free to play became a thing, so you actually wanted people to like the ease of access. So like the whole like $10 to play online is like, yeah, then all of a sudden all the publishers, crying about that stuff just went away. But yeah, I don't know. I think PlayStation is just gonna ignore it, and even if all their posts just kind of just get made fun of, I don't think they particularly care too much. If people are already bending the knee for Black Ops 1 and 2, then what are they going to do for Wolverine and Grand Theft Auto 6, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, but dude, the whole industry's changed this year. The whole industry is just different now.
Well,
Doesn't it feel like that?
Everybody's
Doesn't it feel like the end of an era, a new epoch?
Kind of, yeah. It definitely seems like everybody's upset at PlayStation. Everyone's upset at Xbox, even though they're for different reasons. Is anybody upset at Nintendo? I don't know. Maybe Don Otaku can tell us if anybody's upset with them. I'm sure somebody's upset with them. But yeah, it seems like everybody's mad at those two. But like with the Xbox thing, let's get around to it now. Since we talked about the PlayStation stuff.
Let's do it, bro.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with like the overview? Do you want to start with like Asha's?
Let's overview it.
Okay, go ahead.
We can overview it. So, for those who don't know, all three of you, Asha has been signaling for weeks that Xbox needed to have a reset. She called it like the first 100 days were about renewal and the next 100 days are about reset. That's what she said. And she said there were tough decisions ahead and all the rest of it. And now we know exactly what that meant. It meant mass layoffs, studio divestitures, and a reorganization of certain parts of the company, like Minecraft and King and stuff like that. So that's where we're at right now. There's been over 1,000 Microsoft staffers laid off, with I think another 1,700 planned. There's been 4 studio divestitures, namely Compulsion, Double Fine, Undead Labs, and Ninja Theory, with a 5th in progress, which is Arcane, potentially. And Minecraft will now answer directly to Asha, which kind of is a hint at what their platform plans are. And yeah, a lot of chaos, a lot of decades of experience laid off and cold, and people ain't happy. People are not happy. But was this inevitable, Rand? Was this the inevitable outcome of overextending? Did they buy too much? Did they mismanage?
Yes.
How are you feeling about all this? Because there is an interesting divide about how people are feeling about this.
Okay.
People who aren't on Xbox are really angry about it. People who don't have an Xbox console, people who don't play on Xbox consoles, people who don't care about Xbox at all, they are really, really angry about it. And they're calling for Xbox to be shut down, which I find to be ironic because that'd be many more thousands of job losses. I always think that argument is just weird, where it's like, oh, Xbox laid people off, they should shut down and lay off even more people. Like, huh? Huh? Is that your argument? I don't get it. But I don't know. It's hindsight's 2020 on some of this stuff. But well, actually, I no, hindsight isn't 2020. I think when some of these projects were announced, we knew they weren't going to sell, and it was kind of like, well, why was this even greenlit? So people who aren't on Xbox are really mad about it. But people who are on Xbox seem a little bit divided, to be honest. I put out a tweet this morning that was like, "Are you still optimistic about Ash's vision for the company?" And it was almost half were like, "Yeah, we're still optimistic about what Ash is doing." So it does feel like a lot of the cuts that were made, people kind of understand it, right? Like we talked about it before, like Compulsion hadn't had a hit. Undead Labs uh, didn't release anything monetizable for 8 years. They'd only shipped free updates for State of Decay 2, which had no microtransactions. And then you look at like Ninja Theory, that they've been pretty slow to release games, and the games that they did release were in a genre that you could call vanishingly niche. Meanwhile, much cheaper studios, like the studio that made Still Wakes the Deep, released very similar games that were arguably better, um, on a fraction of the budget. So I think there's like some people are like understanding, and some are even supportive of these decisions that have gone in. And nobody wants to see people lose their jobs, but it does feel like some people understand it. And then the other half of the Xbox community thinks this is the end, and that Ash is, shrinking Xbox down to sell it off. Where do you stand on all this, Rand? What is your current thinking about what they're doing? Was it inevitable? Was it mismanagement? And will this lead to a healthier Xbox in a year?
I mean, I think it was inevitable as soon as she took over, because you don't get rid of Phil and Sarah because things are going good. You get rid of them because the plan failed. And considering like they got rid of Phil and Sarah pretty close after to the acquisition of ABK, kind of tells you all you need to know. Like they didn't manage it properly. So out you go, and now we need somebody else. But like, hey, we spent all this money, we have all these things. Game Pass didn't grow. I mean, like Asha mentions this in their sobering letter that she put out, right? She talked about this, and she specifically says, to grow, we bet on Game Pass, multi-platform, and a broader portfolio of content. While those businesses have created meaningful value, they did not grow at the pace we expected. As that happened, our core business weakened. We added more teams, more investment, and more time, hoping for a better outcome. And now the industry is facing the most severe hardware crisis in its history. So, like, she pretty much laid it out there. I mean, there's a little bit of like blaming the previous administration as like, hey, you did this, because it's not her. Like, she didn't bet on Game Pass and she didn't buy ABK. So it's like, these are the things that we bet on to grow and be the number one gaming platform in the world. And it didn't hit the numbers we wanted. Like, the report now is that Game Pass is at 30 million subs, when the last time they reported was at 34. So they lost some people with the price increase, which I'm not surprised at, considering how much they increased it. $30 for Ultimate even got me, like second guessing it, being like, do I really use this enough? Right?
Mm.
Specifically, she even calls out the multi-platform strategy as like, yeah, something that maybe created meaningful value for probably a couple games like Forza Horizon or whatever, but realistically, it also hurt them, which is something that like I think both me and you said would happen. Like when they originally went multi-platform, it was like, this is going to come back to bite them in the ass, right? It's like, hey, short-term gain for long-term pain, but like they didn't even really get any short-term gain. Maybe they got like a year out of it, and then all of a sudden it was like, that combined with Game Pass just stagnating, led to all this stuff. And you have all these teams making all these games, but like your investments aren't returning any money on it. So like once that all sort of like came to like, yeah, like it was inevitable when she came in here. Like, and there's the thing, like they've been laying off people every single July for the last, what, 3 years now? Ever since
Yeah.
the ABK thing
Yeah.
closed, or like, I forget exactly when. It's been like 3 years. And every year it's like, oh, we need to do this to get more lean and limber and be able to react quicker, and all these sort of platitudes that they say. And But every year it happens, and happens multiple times, and then you think it might be the end, and like, actually no, it's like, oh, we shut down Arcane and these two studios from Bethesda, and you're like, well, is that going to be it? And oh, this time it's like, at least Xbox does try to find other like avenues for their studios outside of just outright closing them. So like Double Fine and Compulsion have gone independent. They got their IPs back. They even
Yeah,
thanked
like, can you
Xbox in their,
imagine? Could you imagine other companies not only letting the studios buy back their independence, but also giving them the IP? I think it's no other company does that. So they deserve some
but
praise
the
for
funny
that.
but the
But at the
funny
same
thing is
time, it's like if they
you,
didn't do that,
well, yeah. But the funny thing is, if you ask Xbox fans, hey, Asha's going to be closing some studios, the studios that would pop out would be the ones that she either let go or sold, because everybody knew, hey, Double Fine, pretty quirky studio. I mean, I love Psychonauts 2, but it didn't really seem like Kiln or Keeper did anything whatsoever. So like, you look at the games, and it's like South of Midnight was all right. It's definitely the best game they ever made, but that's not saying much for Compulsion. Um,
mm.
Hellblade 2 did not really seem to do anything, and like Undead Labs is, like I said, hasn't released anything in a while. So if you had asked Xbox fans, hey, if we're looking for studios to cut, those are probably the four most people would pick.
Well,
Um,
didn't we basically predict the studios?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't predict Arcane, but
I thought Arcane.
Compulsion we predicted. I didn't predict Undead Labs because I thought there's no way they'll shut Undead Labs with the game basically finished.
Well, it
But
kind of became a free for all. Like once, because it was like when Senua showed up at the show, it was like, oh, they're safe. Because why else would you show this at a show? And then like
yeah,
the next week, it was like, actually, they're one of the studios that are getting shopped right now, and it's like, oh, so like anything can happen. Like, so State of Decay is not safe, but like at least those
it
studios
seems that
get to
it seems
live.
Microsoft's still gonna, yeah, the studio get to live, and it does seem like Microsoft's still publishing those games. Like Microsoft's still handling the PR for those games, even though they're going to be sold off. So it's kind of like they've
I mean the
they've
PR. You mean
divested
like the
them.
PR for the ones that went independent, or like what do you mean?
No, the like they're still handling the publishing for State of Decay, for example, even though they're divesting them. So
So
I think like
wait, so like
they've
whoever's buying Undead Labs is not going to be the publisher of the game.
I mean that's what it seems like so far.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw a report that basically said that whoever bought them is under no obligation to adhere to
That was
any.
Stephen Totillo, right?
I think so. Like, so that was the whole thing about like it won't be on Game Pass. But if Xbox is still
I think
publishing
like
the game,
yeah,
you know,
I think whoever's purchased this studio has gotten a good deal out of it. But at the same time, it's like Microsoft has raised some money, I suppose, from selling the two studios because they've sold the IP, they've sold the talent, they've sold a practically finished game. There's some value there, and I think like when you look at
practically finished for a game that's not coming out probably for another year. I wouldn't call that practically finished.
well, it's still another years in bro in today's gaming terms of how long things take to make. Another year is practically finished in my view.
I mean, I suppose, but there's nothing stopping that game getting delayed to 2028 now, is there? I mean, hell, Fable was supposed to come out in 2025.
Yeah, maybe. But in any case, it's one of the most wishlisted games on Steam. And if they've got like a good live service plan and a good monetization layer, I think State of Decay 3 will print money. I personally think State of Decay 3 has got more potential than Sea of Thieves, which is like, I think that's kind of mind blowing for me. But anyways, I don't know. It's clearly that just like I think with Undead Labs especially, this was like we need to raise some money in a way to move funding and staff to other franchises. And Asha kind of hinted at some of that stuff. She was like, we need to focus more on our big franchises, which is something that confused some people when she called out Doom and Quake while simultaneously gutting the studio that make Doom and Quake. But she did call out Fallout and Halo. And we've talked about on the show about how badly mismanaged Halo has been. The opportunity lost with Halo over the last 10 years is
incalculable.
yeah, it's obscene. It's truly obscene.
Hell, dude,
And
we used
Fallout,
to say, give Halo to id. Now there's hardly any id left. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that because I got something to say. Go ahead.
yeah, I suppose. But it's been chaotic, and I suppose, like, for me, it's kind of like, what's the plan going forward now? Because I suppose, like, we still don't really know what the investment in Fallout looks like, what the investment in Halo looks like. We've still got another year of layoffs to go. So, like, where are they going to find all those other savings? Where are these other people going to be laid off? They've created a culture of fear around their studios where it's like the people working there have either got to be thinking like, am I going to be laid off, or do I need to look for another job? That kind of stuff. Like, they're going to be looking to find another job now rather than wait to be, laid off later. So we still got like some months of chaos ahead of us with regards to this stuff. And part of me wonders, like, is there going to be another studio closure? Are they looking at like ways they can close other studios in Europe? Is that why it's taking longer? Because they have to, go through the government a little bit more rather than the hire and fire stuff that happens in America? I don't know. Man.
Yeah,
It's crazy and chaotic.
I mean, you mentioned it before about like, hey, the human element of 3,200 people. A lot of them senior. A lot of them have experience. So it almost sort of seems like, I mean, you look at the list of all the people that got laid off at it. It's like senior. Like, probably people that have been there for years and have high salaries and all the different positions. Sort of seems like, yeah, they're cutting costs everywhere, right? And it sucks because, like, I know a couple people personally who got laid off that I thought were like, there's no way. And then, like, they did, and it's just like, holy shit, like, nobody's safe. And, like, it's one of those reasons why you should never, like, corporations, like, even still now, it's like, nope, they don't care about anybody. Sony doesn't care about you guys. Sony, like, PlayStation fans, I'm sorry, like, they don't care about you, and Xbox doesn't care about us, and it almost seems like nobody cares about their employees, nobody cares about their fans, because that's the way they are. Is like, you just can't trust any of these corporations. And my whole thing is like, you asked me if I'm optimistic about all this, or could Xbox come through better on the other side? And it's like, I'd like to believe that because I tend to be more optimistic, but it's also very difficult when every single year this happens, and I just don't know if Asha's going to get the time that she needs to implement her plan. So, like, because Satya and Amy Hood are there, you know what I'm saying? Like, Asha could have this great plan, this 10-year plan to, like, turn Xbox around to do all these things. Like, we've heard, like, hey, there's more exclusives and stuff like that, like, which is what the fans wanted. And I'm sure there's pundits out there that be like, that doesn't make any sense. In fact, I saw there's a big discussion on X today that that Gene Park started about, would you buy an Xbox if Elder Scrolls was exclusive? Right?
Mm.
And a lot of the replies were no. And it's one of the things that, like, Phil said during the Kind of Funny thing with Paris and Mike, was that, like, nobody's going to buy an Xbox for Starfield, even if Starfield was 11 out of 10. And I agreed with him. And I agree that, like, you're not buying a system for one game, especially if that system is going to be close to $1,000. Like, maybe it tingled in the back of your mind if the system was $500 or $400. But, like, it seems like those days are long gone. Maybe not if you're Nintendo, but still, like, nobody's doing that. And, like, if you're on PC, you don't have to, because it's there. And he did say, like, even if like Elder Scrolls wasn't even on PC, would you get it? And that's kind of the thing you see is like, okay, I saw in like an article today, Sean Layden talked about this because he was asked about what's going on there, and he basically said that Xbox has a choice either to be a publisher or to be a platform, and you can't be both. You can't be a platform and have all your games be multi-platform because there's no incentive to have anybody play on your platform. So it's like you got to choose either you're a full publisher and all your games are everywhere and that's where you're going to make your money and you don't have a platform. You're just basically EA and all the rest, or you have a platform and you need exclusives. And it can't just be like, here's Gears, the one exclusive for the year, or here's Clockwork. It has to be the majority of the games. And unfortunately, like the most popular ones are the ones that probably should be exclusive, like Elder Scrolls and
Mm.
Fallout and etc. Because those are the ones that are the most popular, that would draw the most eyes. But I can't even tell you now if the rumored, not even rumored, Jason Schreier saying it, like the Fallout game that Obsidian's making with Josh Schreier in the lead, and there's a whole thing on that. Like people are weird because for years I heard, oh god, Obsidian, I just want them to make a Fallout game. Oh please, please. And hell, like I even called for this for like Phil and Matt. I used to be like, where's the Fallout games, guys? Like you got Obsidian sitting right there. Why aren't they making a Fallout game? And then I was like, oh, Todd doesn't want people to play in his playground. It's like, fuck Todd. Like, get it done. What are you doing? You gotta strike while the iron's hot with this Fallout TV show. And now that they are doing it after canceling Avowed, although I guess it's not, people are still working on it. I don't know if you saw that. Like Jason Schreier was reporting that even though Avowed's been canceled, there are still people working on it while they wait to move to Fallout in hopes that eventually they could have released Avowed 2 in the future, whatever. But now you
I think
actually
they will.
have,
Like I was told that the plan isn't to turn Obsidian into a Fallout factory. I was
right.
told that verbatim.
So now
So
you
I would
actually
imagine that Avowed 2 will launch someday.
so now you actually have Obsidian making a Fallout game, which is what everybody wanted, and you have Josh Schreier working on it. But there are people on like social media that are like pissed about it because, oh well, we don't want them to become what Insomniac became, where Insomniac just became a Marvel factory. We don't want Obsidian just to become a Fallout factory, and oh, like this is horrible because they're just being forced to work on it and stuff. And it's like, and they bring up an interview where like, hey, I saw an interview someone brought up. It was like, we want to work on our own IPs, but then I saw an interview from Josh Sawyer saying he'd work on another Fallout, and I saw one from Fergus that said he would love to work on another Fallout before he retired. But so now like people are like, if they get what they wanted, which is a brand new Fallout game coming sooner than 2035, because hell knows when Elder Scrolls is coming out, right? It seems like not till 2029 at this point, and then yeah, so it's like, okay, you're actually going to get a Fallout maybe before the turn of the decade, and people are like, certain people are upset about it, and it's like you can't win no matter what happens, right? And I even forgot how I got on this tangent. I had a point I was trying to make, but I got offsides with the Obsidian thing. I guess like the thing is like nobody's happy or whatever with how any of this stuff has gone. And I know I know like I talked to a few people that are like super happy about this, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like I think that's what people want. Like people have been wondering where the hell the Fallout game is. So for Obsidian, I'm sorry for the Avowed fans that you're not getting like Avowed 2 immediately or whatever, but with if Xbox is saying, "Hey, we need to focus on these big IPs and Fallout's one of them," it's like, "Well, yeah, you better have a big Fallout game in development. What's taking you so long?" Um yeah, I think going back to my point was like the idea of the exclusivity and Asha having whatever her plan is and being able to commit to that plan for an extended period of time instead of getting the rug pulled out from underneath her. Because, like, that's the. I don't know. We could be doing this same song and dance a year from now. Or 2 years from now when Satya just was like, whatever, screw it. Or Amy Hood's just like, actually, AI's not doing so great. We need to cut more people from Xbox to make up for it. Like, that's the problem. Is not that I don't necessarily. It's just that I look at those. the whims of those people, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she's going to be given the time to do exactly what she wants, and maybe what she wants to do, maybe it's something I don't want to see happen. I don't know yet because I don't know her vision, you know. But it definitely seems that the things that Phil and Sarah Bond and Matt Booty had banked on all kind of blew up in their faces, like the Game Pass and the multi-platform and everything. The whole "this is an Xbox" ad just blew up in their face, and then you're you're basically then hitting a wall because now consoles are so expensive. So like you're sort of like doubly screwed because it's like you're losing all these monies on the consoles, so you have to raise the price, but nobody wants to buy your consoles because they're too expensive and because your games are everywhere else anyway, so there's no reason to. And now you're like, okay, well, we're actually gonna give people reasons to buy our system by doing exclusive, and it's like, okay, that's great. But now you're stuck with this idea of like these consoles just being too expensive and nobody even cares. Because like the perception of Xbox or if the game's just on PC and people could just play it there if they already have a PC and it'd be the better version anyways. So like, what do you do in that regard? I don't know. But I don't know. Like, was it you that told me the joke about the business thing with the
Three
three letters? Yeah,
envelopes.
to tell the people.
So like this is something they apparently teach in business school, which is it's sort of like a business parable, where like a new CEO comes in and gives the old CEO three envelopes, and he tells the new CEO, in times of crisis, open one of these envelopes, and the first envelope. There's a crisis, and the CEO opens the first envelope, and the first envelope says, "Okay, blame your predecessors." So then the CEO starts blaming the predecessors, and then the second envelope, something like, "Okay, now start laying people
Yeah,
off."
it's like
You know,
restructure.
so like, yeah, restructure, and then and then that doesn't work, and then there's still another crisis, and then the third envelope, the new CEO opens, says, "Prepare three envelopes." So it's like this is like you know it's kind of one of them. It's like, are we not in some kind of downward spiral here? Like, where's the bottom? And I'll be transparent. We kind of going through this now with in the media. It's like, where's the bottom? I saw GameSpot laid off a ton of people yesterday as well. A fandom who owns GameSpot, and they own Metacritic. No, they don't own Metacritic. They own like a lot of the wiki sites. They own websites like Wowhead and some of the specialist gaming sites, but they also own GameSpot, and they've been laying off people left, right, and center across some of their properties because of the downturn. So I do wonder, like, where's the bottom here? Like, will core gaming continue to shrink? Because that's kind of what we're speaking about here. This is like our section of the market is core gaming. It's like the way I think about it is like, games where you sit at a TV with a console and you dedicate time to play. And I think, Rand, you were talking about on either last week's show or the show before about how Netflix is grappling with this at their end, where it's like people watch the first season, but they don't watch the second season because they've moved on. They've moved on to something else. Like, the attention span isn't there. And also, Netflix is producing shows that the dialogue has a lot of audio description in it because they think people are watching Netflix while they're on their phones and they're not really paying attention to it. They're not really getting fully invested in it. And I think one of the things about core gaming is people don't get as the addressable audience that will sit there and pay full attention to something is shrinking because people who work at like people of our generation who've grown up and are used to being able to focus on one thing, at least to some degree, whether it's reading a book or watching a movie, like the amount of people that do that in the younger cohorts is diminished, and it's going to get increasingly diminished if something isn't done to address how addictive and infinite these snippets of culture that you get from like shorts and Instagram and algorithms, and they're designed to be addictive. And there's peer reviewed research at companies like from research at major universities like Harvard and stuff, where they talk about the negative impact of these attention destroying mechanisms have on people's brains. I don't know if you saw this one, Rand, but Gen Z is the first generation in history that's dumber than the previous one.
Well, I mean, when you got TikTok and all these social media platforms, is it that surprising?
Yeah,
Or or,
like
or
the
AI
average.
or AI that basically does all your homework for you? Like
Well, it's well, exactly.
well, dude,
It's like the every generation they like they measure the average IQ, and every generation since they've been measuring this, it's gone up because improvements in education, improvements of access of information, like all that kind of stuff. Like every generation, IQ has gradually gone up, very very slowly. Gen Z is the first generation in history that IQ has gone down, and it's blatantly because of social media. It what else could it possibly be? So it's like, it's we going in reverse. And I think when you are making products that require attention, your addressable market is shrinking because millennials and Gen X, they're aging out. They're having kids, they're working all day, they're getting tired, they got mortgages and all that kind of stuff. So
dude,
I don't know.
I saw this post by like a Brown University uh, like teacher, right? Where he gave his students the midterm. It was you said you could take it home. You could take home the midterm, and but for the final it was in class. So he had a graph of all the students' scores, and it was like all the midterm scores were hundreds, 95s, 90s, right? And like all the all the final scores that people had to do in home or like in class, you looked at it and it was just like 50, 50, 50. There was like basically three people who didn't cheat or three people didn't use AI. Like it
Oh
is
my
just
god.
that's how just people are nowadays. Like like why learn something? Isn't it something like Sam Altman said, or maybe it was Musk, where he says like intelligence is gonna be something that's bought or something? Like you can just use AI or whatever, and it's like
It was Altman, yeah. Altman said they'll sell intelligence on tap or something.
yeah. I mean, it seems like
Wild
the
shit, bro.
yeah. I don't know, but like back to the whole Xbox thing, the fact that like we're finally getting a Fallout game off of this is like okay, cool, but like there's still a contingent of people online that are pissed off for whatever reason. And I don't understand that. Um, the other part of like Asha's memo, which is like really long, was about the layers of management. That in some parts of the company there's 14 layers of management. How did anything get done at, Xbox with 14 layers of management? You know, that seems ridiculous to me. So okay, we need to cut that down. I don't know. I'm just like reading this other thing, but it's just like all the money they invested, they lose like 60 cents or whatever. But it's just, would you be shocked if we got to July of next year and there weren't layoffs, or if there were layoffs? Which one would shock you more?
I would honestly be shocked more if there weren't layoffs next year.
I don't mean like, oh, we laid off 50 people or something. I'm like, layoff like over 500, right? I, I don't know because I mean this year's numbers should be, when you compare to last year, should be better simply because like you have Grand Theft Auto, which is going to be a big boon for them, right? It's going to sell a
Mm.
shit ton on Xbox, just like it's going to sell a shit ton on PlayStation. So like when you compare that quarter to last year's quarter, it should be a lot better. And if it's not a lot better, then Jesus Christ, you have some major problems that you need to solve. They do have a Halo coming out, they do have a Gears coming out, they do have a Fable coming out. So like they got some big franchises to hit. So like next year's number, you should see like the revenue go up because it should. Uh Now like obviously like the following year might not be so good with no Grand Theft Auto, but that's how it is. Um
Mm.
but yeah, what really kind of, outside of like seeing some of my personal friends get laid off, which was pretty awful, um, and then knowing like how this affects everybody and seeing like, oh, everybody from id say stuff, or everybody from Obsidian or whatever, uh the stuff that really kind of bothered me was the stuff that happened to id. um
Yeah.
and I know also like Bethesda got some layoffs, and like I think ZeniMax Online got slashed in half, because there's a lot of, look, I love id. Okay, I'm gonna focus on this one. I love id. I love the Doom trilogy. I know you're not a big fan of the third one. Me and you kind of disagree on this one. You're not a fan whatsoever.
I don't hate it, but I thought like some of the I do feel like some of the decisions they made with it just didn't sit well with me. Like I don't care about the story they're trying to put through there. Like put it in the codex. Like it just feels like a road
No,
bump to
don't
the
put it in the
fun.
codex. Well, the
Yeah,
codex is
put it in
cool,
put it in the
but
codex.
don't put
Put
it
it in
in
the
the
codex.
don't put it
No,
in
I
the
don't care.
codex.
I don't know the I don't care about the character. The characters I'm writing is flat
Dude,
in Doom Dark Day. I'm
you're
sorry. It's bland. It's boring.
bullshit, because you
It's
always tell
boring.
me about the fucking stupid lore of World of Warcraft like it matters. And now you're telling me like the lore of like Doom doesn't matter? Like Doom, I don't want
No,
to hear
the
that
lore
from you.
matters. I just don't want it in like cheap, like lame cutscenes. Like I don't care about these characters. Like just let me kill shit. That's Doom to me. Let me kill shit. I don't care about like I think Doom 2016 had the right balance. There was some context, you know, like it never took control away from you, you know. It's the cutscenes were sort of like very few and far in between, and when there were like characters talking, you never lost control of the character. You were always in control of the character, and you saw like you were the characters were talking to you from behind a screen or something like that. You never lost control of the character. But in Doom: The Dark Ages, it was self-indulgent, man. It was self-indulgent. Like why who are these characters? Who are these people? I don't care. Just give me something. When you playing Doom, when you're actually playing it and you're killing stuff, it's fantastic. It's as good as any of them. You know, I don't like some aspects of the gameplay, like the color coded things to parry. Like I think that was a bit cheesy to me. Like, why can't I just parry everything? Why can't it be skill based? Why does it have to be like? Why am I looking out for specific colors? I don't like that. I don't like the vehicles. I think the dragon is terrible. Like, cut that shit from the game. Like, don't need a dragon. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't like about Doom: The Dark Ages, but like when you are Doomslayer, you're killing shit, boots on the ground. It's just it's sublime. Oh, also the music's terrible. The music is
Well, I mean, it's no Mick
terrible.
Gordon, that's for sure. You
Yeah, the
know,
music's really really bad. So like I'm not a fan of some aspects of that, but um the gameplay is just
I
phenomenal,
mean,
just like
I've seen
always.
people say that the DLC Revelations, which I haven't played yet, is potentially the best of them all. Like, not only the best of like better than 2016 and better than Eternal. Like, I've seen people say that. Now, maybe I don't know how they feel about like the base game or whatever. Like, I liked Eternal the most, but I know there are a lot of people that still like 2016. Um, so with that said about the game, like I do recall people mocking the game when it came out, and like posting the Steam charts like they do for every single game that comes out now. Like, everybody that was like obsessed with Marathon and stuff posting its Steam charts. Like, people were posting the Steam charts of Doom, being like, "What the hell happened? Like, why are these numbers so low?" And then, like, we got the information that, yeah, it didn't sell anywhere close to Eternal. But even then, at that point, I was like, "Oh, they'll be fine. It's Doom. It's id. They're like a legendary studio. This is the legendary IP." I
Yeah.
mean, don't forget, during the acquisition, they plastered the Doom Slayer's face over like all the like things. It was like, "Yeah, we got Doom," and to
I
see
bought the
this,
Doom skins in Diablo.
to see like what happened to this, like I was dumbfounded when, like, I think you told me like there's gonna be massive layoffs at like id. I'm like, what the fuck? Is it is it because they just shipped the game? So like they were in between, like they were pitching stuff, which I forget who reported this. I think it was GamesBeat. Like there were
Games be
three
yeah.
pitches, like a co-op multiplayer Doom game, but like considering how tepid Doom Dark Ages is, it's kind of like Doom needs to go away for a bit, not like come back with a co-op version of it. There was a Perfect Dark game, which was like, okay. And then a like a John Wick new IPs thing that sounds really cool. So is it just like a bad luck situation where like they had shipped Dark Ages and okay, maybe it didn't live up to their sales expectations, even though they did say it was the fastest played Doom ever, like 3 million people or whatever it was, and they were just in the middle of pitching stuff and nothing got approved, so they could just like, I guess what I'm saying is that if this was 2 years ago and Doom Dark Ages had already shipped and they're already working their next game, would they be laying people off? Like it's just because of just the situation we're in and the where it's like this just happened. So they're not working on any game yet, so we can kind of do this.
It's hard to say. I suppose that is some of it, where it's like, okay, they haven't got a project yet, and we can ramp them back up later. And also maybe they've got a lot of tenured staff. Like, one of the things that has, I suppose, been interesting to me, but also not interesting, I suppose, is a lot of the people that have been laid off seem to be like senior level. So like people who've got a lot of tenure, people who've, presumably had a lot of well-deserved raises over the years. It does really feel like this is an exercise to cut people who've been there for a long time and replace them potentially with people that are younger. I saw Frank Shaw, Microsoft's global head of comms. Like, Frank Shaw um, leads all of communications for Microsoft, not just Xbox. He put out a tweet saying, talking about this H-1B visa employees. So I don't know if you saw this, Rand, but there was some reporting that the plan at Xbox was to replace tenured American staff with
no,
foreign
that I
workers
did see
or
that
something.
it was just bullshit Fox News made up. It was just bullshit
Right.
Fox
Okay.
News
Well.
made up to say like all the people that got laid off are all getting replaced with people from like the visa stuff from immigrants. So like
Yeah, but
you're losing American
sure. But
jobs, you're getting
people,
replaced with people from overseas. And it was like, well,
yeah,
no.
people believe what they want to believe at the end of the day. But he
Well,
pushed
yeah.
back on that, and he was saying like, Xbox is the largest American employer of American workers in the gaming industry, largest American gaming company. Asher is American, born, raised, and educated in Wisconsin, and the layoffs are not specific to Xbox. In fact, like, when you look at least this initial wave, most of the layoffs are in other parts of Microsoft. Like, sales teams got hit really hard, which I think is weird, considering I've long been told sales is one of the worst parts of the Microsoft business, where they have really poor, underfunded sales teams, and now they've just gutted them even more, which is kind of weird. So yeah, I don't know. It's
So
crazy. There's a lot of crazy shit flying around right
there
now.
is. I do want to get back to my thoughts on Doom here for a second, but they did put out a tweet 2 hours ago before the show started. This is from id Software themselves. They said, "Thank you for all the support this week. While our studio was impacted, those changes are spread across teams. We still have the crew we need to build the games and tech we're known for. The team today is about the same size we were when making Doom 2016. We have
Oh, I just put
always
that out this morning.
Yeah, we have always had a flat studio where everyone is a maker, and we will remain true to that philosophy moving forward. We are focused on supporting each other and the team members impacted. We're going to keep building the great games and tech that have defined us for the past 35 years, and we're looking forward to seeing you at QuakeCon in August." Because when you first told me about this stuff, I was pretty. Is the one like outside of like everybody losing their jobs, which is like, yeah, like this fucking sucks. Like the thing, like maybe I'll be callous here, but as like compulsion games, Double Fine, whatever. Like I'm happy that they can go and create and make something new, but I'm not losing any sleep over it. You know what I mean? Like hopefully Double
Mm.
Fine makes a Psychonauts 3. The one studio that I was like frustrated was Ninja Theory. I love Ninja Theory. I love the Hellblade franchise. I played all of their games, I think, except for Heavenly Sword, because I didn't have a PS3 at the time. So I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna get Senua. Like Ninja, what the hell? And then like, okay, they got bought, and we are still getting Senua. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I don't care about State of Decay. I know you do, but like I don't. So I'm like, all right, well, like I like more people got laid off than I originally thought were going to get laid off. And I thought there were going to be like studio closures. I thought more studios were going to go. Like I thought there was a chance Machine Games could get shut down. I thought there was a chance it could get closed. I thought there was a chance Rare could get shut down. So I'm like, all right. In my mind, I had like pictured like 8 studios, and like it ended up being 4. And I don't know what's happening with Arcane, and I love them too, and I sort of wonder if part of it is like it's expensive to run a studio in France. Deathloop shipped in 2021 and they haven't done anything since, and like there's no Blade movie anymore, so like whatever they were expecting
Mm,
to kind of tie that in with the game, maybe it's like, all right, well, this isn't working anymore, which sucks because I think they've released some great games in the past, so I don't know what's going on with them. But with id, I'm just like, you're talking about like legendary character, you're talking about a legendary studio, you're talking about legendary like engine, like id Tech. And
yeah,
originally, like when all this stuff kind of flying out, I was like, you mean to tell me you just turned id into a fucking support studio? Uh, and I was just like, no, that did not sit right with me. I'm like, what are they? The new turn 10? Are they just going to be a support studio for Machine Games while Machine Game uses id Tech to make Wolfenstein? And then like I'm thinking of like the statement about, oh, we want to focus on Doom and Quake, and I'm like, but how the fuck are you going to focus on Doom and Quake when there's no studio left? Like
yeah,
and like so I'm sitting there. I'm like, some of the stuff doesn't make sense. Like I don't know if somebody's lying somewhere. And I mean, you read this thing from id, and they're like, we're still making games, and we're the same size. And I'm just like, is this something you just had to put out to like? I don't even know if I believe the statement. It's like, I don't know.
yeah.
What do you know about the id situation?
Well, it's really interesting because, like, I was speaking to sources all week about what's going on with it. I spoke to a couple of people who've been laid off, and then a couple of people who are still in there. I don't have as many like sources as some of these other places, but I spent the whole week finding people to talk to about this. And one of the things that I was told, which is what they put exactly in this statement, was that the team size is the same size it was when they shipped Doom 2016, which felt almost like an intentional talking point, which they're sharing internally. If this is what they put in the statement, it just seems to be like this is what I suppose they're talking about internally. Um, I was told that there's no plans to force them to use Unreal Engine, and there's no plans to depreciate id Tech and move to Unreal Engine wholesale. And that kind of goes with what Asher was saying previously about wanting to rely less on vendors. I feel like if if your plan is to rely less on vendors, why you got in idtech, which is the most realized, fully featured engine that you've got, and you've gotten it, like it feels like the wrong move to me. If it was me, I'd be like, they should develop idtech engine and sell it, you know, and give idtech another revenue stream, sell that engine to other studios to build games on, right? I think the universe where Unreal Engine becomes like a total monopoly, you're going to end up paying even more to your vendors, So that seems reductive. But you've also got like this concept of them becoming a support studio. And Doom 2016 was developed with support studios. Certain Affinity worked on the game. I think another studio worked on the game. So there is probably going to be some outsourcing going on, especially if they kind of want to develop the next Doom game at the same quality bar as Doom the Dark Ages was. But I do think some of this stuff is like it's kind of like what I was talking about though. Like Doom 2016 didn't have a cinematics team. It didn't have vehicle designers. Because some of this kind of stuff, which I was sort of describing as extraneous potentially in Doom the Dark Ages, and like that's just my opinion. Like if people like that stuff, I don't have a problem with it. It's just my opinion personally. I didn't think Doom was helped by some of that stuff. So I do wonder, like, to what extent are they sort of thinking, like, we need to get back to basics with this? Did Doom, the Dark Ages, underperform because it did overextend and try to become something it wasn't? I don't know. But another aspect, um, another aspect of this is like, Machine Games is still going to use id Tech, and Machine Games has its tech team too. So, and Machine Games and id Software already collaborate extensively. So I do wonder, like, the real question for me is, like, what are they actually going to make after all this? Because if they are the same size as they were with Doom 2016, as they seem to be describing it internally and externally now with this statement, like, what kind of game can they possibly make? Because we're probably not looking at something like the Dark Ages with this sort of ambitious cinematic kind of story delivery. We're probably looking at something a bit more simple, like Doom 2016, which was heavy on the gameplay and light on, the rest of it. But you said earlier, like, maybe Doom needs a rest. Maybe they just put out too much Doom, And it goes back to your comments on Netflix and the reporting that Netflix is struggling to keep people engaged in the second season because people want to move on to something else. Like, has Doom scrolling just changed people's brains where it's like, we don't want the same thing over and over again? Is that why Black Ops 7 underperformed? Do people want to feel like everything, is fresh? But then that kind of flies in the face of what Ash is saying, like, we need to double down on some of these franchises. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's really, really confusing.
If I were,
how is this going to go down?
If I were advising them, I would say you need to move off Doom, because I think it's been oversaturated. I think you move to something else. Like, I would have loved to have seen the new IP, John Wick style new IP. That would have been cool. But like,
was that the Western thing?
I don't know.
Ironwood, I think it was called?
I think maybe, but like, the thing is, like, so you have the statement from id, and you have, like, okay, we're the same size as we were Doom 2016, but then you see people that have been laid off there, that have been, working there for 20 years or whatever it's been, and they're basically saying that people that are left can't make a game. That they're basically,
Yeah.
so it's like, where's the truth? Is it? I mean, the only employees are like, yeah, you got laid off, and like, sure, I understand there'd be anger there, and it's like, are is it exaggeration to say that, oh, they can't make anything and it's just a support studio? But then it's like, is Microsoft trying to cover the ass by saying, well, oh, they can still make some stuff because this is, so I don't know where the truth. I I want them to make another game. I don't necessarily need them to make another Doom game. But something from them it would be great. I just don't want them to be. I just don't want them to be like, co-deving with Machine Games or something. Because that's the other thing about all this is, with them talking about doubling down on their big franchises. With Bethesda, for instance, it's like, we're going to be doing Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Doom and Quake. And, we know they want to do more Call of Duty, or not necessarily more, but like, Call of Duty is a big thing from them. Minecraft is reporting directly to her, so's King, right? Like, it's all about the big franchises. It seems like Xbox's whole AA experiment is basically out the window at this point. But the thing is, and this is something that I hope they know, because I think it could come back to bite them in the ass, when you get rid of all these senior people, all these people that have been there forever with all this knowledge, and you get rid of them, and you replace them with either contractors, which we know how that went with fucking Halo. Hint, not good. Or you replace them with AI, because we're in the age of AI. Or if you're doing co-devs, where, like, if I'm not mistaken, now correct me if I'm wrong, but Halo Remake is, most of the heavy lifting is not even done by Halo Studios. It's another studio doing it, right? With kind of like Halo Studios overseeing a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, what I'm saying is that the pressure's on for these games, because, like, you just saw Doom collapse under its own weight with the Dark Ages. Like, it didn't sell as well as Eternal. And then look what happened to the studio, right? What happens? They lay off, I forget how many people did they lay off at Bethesda, like 150? And then, so, like, now there's employees saying, like, these layoffs are going to impact Elder Scrolls. whether it's going to have a lower quality or it's going to take longer to come out. And you notice, like, when Bethesda talks about, like, what our corner franchise is moving forward, there's no mention of Starfield at all.
No.
And that's because Starfield's viewed as,
Pariah.
well, it's kind of just viewed as a mid-game by people. It didn't live up to the expectations that people had for it. So, like,
Needed gore.
well, either way, what it needed or what it didn't need is you have to be careful, because if you're getting rid of all these people that have been there forever simply because they're expensive, and you can replace them with juniors and people new to the industry, or you can replace them with a different, like a cheaper code dev team or AI. God forbid Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it's not good. God forbid, like, a Fallout game comes out from a different studio and it's not good, because like those bad games can ruin a franchise. And then what happens? Like, if you have a big AAA production and that game doesn't do well, then like the studio's, like, it sort of seems like the studio's gone at that point. So like that's the sort of the worry I have, is like, how does this affect Elder Scrolls 6? Am I going to get a lesser quality Elder Scrolls 6, or am I getting Elder Scrolls 6 that takes way longer to make, and because of that, like, people just waited too long, and by the time I get it, it's just 82 on Metacritic? And then you say, like, an 82 is great, but it's like, it is, but not for Elder Scrolls. And that's what sort of kind of ruined Starfield, was like, people have been waiting for it and they thought it was really cool, and then it came out and it was like, oh, and I know, like, you say like an 8's, and what do you mean, like, an 8's not good? Like, no, an 8 is good, but for certain franchises, it's not. And Bethesda has always kind of been like, their games, like the Fallout 4s, the Fallout 3s, they're the cream of the crop. Their games defined generations and were highly reviewed and sold so many copies. I mean, how many times they sell Skyrim? I don't even know how many. It's like literally on every platform that ever existed. But like, what happens if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and is just okay? And like, you ruin the franchise, because now it's like you can't even rely on that. I mean, I know that maybe like, oh my god, like that's not going to happen, Rand. But I'm saying, like, if you're using less experienced people, or if you're using AI, or if you're using like outsourced studios, these are things that possibly can happen. And I don't want it to.
I think the truth about Starfield is Starfield made a ton of money. Starfield was very successful over the course of its life, right, and continues to be. It's still got the mods, and it's still got a community that actively plays the game, right? So Starfield was successful. The problem is, it just doesn't have the potential of a Fallout or an Elder Scrolls. Skyrim is one of the best-selling games of all time. So it's kind of like, if we've got to a point where the industry has shrunk and the margins are tighter, the bar for what constitutes success is even bigger. And if you are like this publicly traded company, you're kind of like pressured by your shareholders to look for the maximum opportunity. Starfield is not the maximum opportunity. It sold, it did well, it made money, but it wasn't the maximum opportunity. Elder Scrolls was. Elder Scrolls was the maximum opportunity. So, that's the long and short of it. Like, increasingly I wonder, like, what kind of agency are they even going to have to explore new IP? And I do wonder if they are falling into this trap of like, we're going to, double down on all the stuff that we've got, and then it's going to be oversaturated.
Because
I think, like, you can't just do the same thing over and over again. People get bored.
What was the problem with Xbox during like the 360 and the Xbox One generation? It was Halo, Gears, and Forza. And everybody was like, we want something that's new. And you get all these new studios, and like, great. And now, like, what is Xbox Game Studios? It's Halo, Gears, and Forza again, right? Is Bethesda just going to be... Because a lot of, like, the great Bethesda games are just stuff they just publish, randomly. Like, the Evil Withins and stuff like that. And the Hi-Fi Rushes. Dishonored's and stuff. And it's like, it doesn't seem like we'd be going back to any of those. So if like you're not a fan of the Elder Scrolls or Fallout, then like, too bad. But my point is like, you have to be careful with these gigantic franchises because one bad one can sink the whole ship. And then if you're concentrated on it and a Fallout comes out that's bad and torpedoes the whole franchise, well then you're sort of fucked. Now granted, like a bad Fallout came out, it was called Fallout 76, and it didn't seem to torpedo the franchise. I think mainly because the TV show had kind of reinvigorated everything, and they did work to improve Fallout 76. But that's a worry that I have. I mean, we saw what happened with the Call of Duty that people did not like. It not only did it like almost destroy Game Pass, like that's part of the reasons why they're going through all this stuff, because all that lost revenue. Like
Mm.
the decline of Call of Duty was so bad that like it fucked everything else up. So like, the reporting came out that like Xbox was using Minecraft to like support the rest of the studio. Like it was using the revenue from Minecraft to basically fund the rest of the divisions. It's like, yeah, that's how businesses work. Is making all this money, and then okay, we'll build other hits out, and maybe using some of that Minecraft money, we make another hit, right? And then we got 2 hits now, and like we got 2 of them doing it. Like that's Halo was basically supporting Xbox. When Halo
Yeah.
was at its peak and stuff. It's like not every game's gonna make that type of money. So like,
You take your profits and then you invest it in other things. It's like, we think there's a StarCraft shooter coming out. Like, where do you think they've got the money to fund that?
Well, I mean, we
it
think
hasn't come out of thin air.
Just say that.
Just
say that bro. Come on now.
No, what?
Just say that you know. Say that you know there's a StarCraft game.
I mean, we all know. Don't we? It's like the worst kept secret in gaming.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, it is. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, I know with Bethesda, Bethesda specifically, you gotta light a fighter under their ass. I mean, let me ask you this question: how old were you when Skyrim came out?
God, I don't know. When did it come out?
That's a good question. Let's find out.
Skyrim launched
2013, I want to say.
2011. Skyrim came out in 2011? Jesus. So how old was I in 2011? I was in my 20s, I guess.
So it's 15 years ago.
15 years, yeah. So I would have been like 24.
So let's just say it doesn't come out for
23.
another 3 years. So 18 years. Is 18 years in between franchises something that's feasible in this day and age?
I mean, for most, no. For Elder Scrolls, maybe. I mean, look at Baldur's Gate 3.
Sure.
Dungeons and Dragons, that fan base, ravenous for Baldur's Gate.
They
showed up. People will show up for Skyrim 2 or Elder Scrolls 6. Would they show up for Starfield 2? Probably not.
I just sort of wonder when they say Elder Scrolls, are we going to get an Elder Scrolls that's not by Bethesda? Like the dilution of the brand is what I'm talking about. Like, are they going to annualize Fallout like they annualize Call of Duty, where we get like, there's a Fallout game by Obsidian, and then a Fallout game by Bethesda, and then a Fallout game over here by this company, and the Fallout game over here, to the point where like a Fallout game by inXile, where the point where like it kind of degrades the franchise? Like, is that what we're looking at? I'm just asking a question. I don't know. I mean, I when you say Elder Scrolls, like, how can you really sort of make a lot of them when like Bethesda's taking forever, and it's like, okay, yeah, you got one coming out in 3 years. It's like, are you gonna have anybody else make them? And even with like, I don't know, man. Like, they just better hope Elder Scrolls is good, because God forbid if it's not. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Grand Theft Auto 6. Everybody's super hyped up about it. It's got its pre-orders. I think you said on the show one time, what if Grand Theft Auto 6 is just mid? What if, like, they don't know what they're doing because, what if the story's bad and the characters suck because, like, Dan Houser left? And, like, can it live up to people's expectations? Or are you going to see people online being like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 6 sucks? Because everything sucks now, right? You know,
I like it. I like this comment from Eranks in chat. It says, "Can we get one Fallout this decade before we complain about getting too many, please?"
no, I'm
I
not.
mean, he's not wrong,
No,
right?
I'm not complaining about getting more. I'm just trying to like, I'm trying to understand like what Microsoft like goal is. Like, are we going to get way more than just one Fallout? Are they going to have like we can have multiple studios making all these multiple Fallout games? You know, uh,
Mm.
it's especially when you consider like Elder Scrolls and how long it's been since the last one, and it's like you know. You're laying off all these people and it takes longer to come out and like the quality of the game might suffer for it, and then if it does and people don't care about the franchise anymore, then you're sitting on you're sitting on something rotten. And at that point, then what? Are we going to have another Xbox reset because Call of Duty and Elder
No,
Scrolls are we ruined those franchises, so we got to do something else. Um,
don't do this to me, bro.
well, at least your beloved World of Warcraft and Blizzard seem to be okay, although maybe not. I mean, who knows with all the layoffs coming later on. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Let me just read some of these super chats, shall we, Jez?
let's do some super chats. Drop
Replicant
us some super chats, guys.
says, Rand, please tell my pal Fletch to stop buying games and playing them for under 3 hours. He needs an intervention. Dude, stop being a Jez. Play the games longer for 3 hours. And if you're not planning on doing them, then just don't buy them. What do you got, money to burn? Please, listen to Replicant. He knows what he's talking about. Nitram says, the same week Xbox fired 3,200 for a necessary reset, Microsoft announced they put 2.5 billion into 6,000 new AI engineers. Xbox needed a reset, but how much was actually necessity versus just shifting cash towards AI? I mean, there is the whole AI aspect of it all, right, Jez? And I don't
Yeah,
really know
I
much about
mean
it, so
the RAM apocalypse is a huge part of this, and we kind of glossed over it. But you know, like you can't grow a platform if you can't sell hardware, and you can't sell hardware if RAM costs more than a house. You know, it's a difficult, messed up kind of time to be trying to sell an ecosystem with endpoints and stuff. They need the real innovation for consoles will be figuring out how to make them cheaper in a universe where RAM costs shitload of money. So I mean, Atticus in chat is like, wow, AI, get over it, man, it's here. I mean, yeah, but the RAM prices are here. So it's kind of like, people are like, oh, stop blaming AI. And it's like, bro, there is, it's reality. It is reality that RAM prices are higher because of AI. That's just reality. Like, I hate this trend in like the modern discourse where it's like people can just think they can bulldoze through an argument using feelings, right? AI is here, yes, but the consequences are real. You know, you can't just sit there and deny that RAM prices have magically increased for no fucking reason, man. Jesus, spoke to me, bro.
Sin Vendetta says, as much as I'm angry at Sony for ditching physical media, I'm way more pissed off at the fact that Sony can remove your digital media if they lose the license, even if you purchased it. Sony lost me with that. Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's no way around that. Like 500 movies or whatever, and you just lose that if you buy it. It definitely, it is weird that that happened on like the week before they announced we're getting rid of physical games because it's like you just showed us that our digital libraries aren't safe if you lose a license,
Yeah.
right? And we know some games get delisted, like the Marvel games, like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games and stuff. But I think if you do own those games digitally, you can download them, re-download them if you can. You just can't buy them anymore. But I guess there's always the thought that well they can remove them and you never be able to buy it, re-download them. And it's like I mean I hope that never happens, but at some point maybe it will. But yeah. Uh,
Mm.
Kuhl says, who in Bethesda made the layoff decisions? Feels targeted a bit on that side. Jez, do you know who was in charge of that?
I have no idea, but it was definitely targeted over at the ZeniMax side. I've got no idea why specifically ZeniMax. I suppose it was like just a combination of very long-term tenured staff, a lot of people that have been there for decades, and it was just sort of like them looking at a spreadsheet. Oh, this person's expensive, and not a lot of surgical precision being used, would be my guess. Is, the bean counter is driving this. It sucks, but it is what it is, man.
We have Cool also says Game Pass is attached to Xbox hardware, so going multi-platform hurt hardware, thus hurt Game Pass. Well, yeah, it didn't allow Game Pass to grow. And it is tied to hardware. It's just that they expected it to grow bonkers with mobile, and they expected to grow pretty well on PC. And even though it did okay on PC, it never did the numbers they wanted it to, and then never did anything on mobile. And I remember telling you that, Jez. I remember telling you they're smoking crack if they think they are getting these numbers on mobile. Because that was like the whole thing was that they were, I forget the numbers. I remember seeing the internal documents or whatever. It was like a ridiculous number of mobile subs. And I remember talking to you about this. I'm like, who do Microsoft think is going to sign up for this service on mobile? And you were just like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, they're smoke. It's kind of also like Asha's like parting thing where she wants Xbox to deliver joy to 1 billion gamers a day. It's like that's never going to happen. And I understand it's like maybe not necessarily an edict that that's what we're working towards, but it's something that maybe we aspire to or whatever. But you're not going to reach 1 billion people a day. So I don't even know why you would even present that as even say that. Like it's stupid because it's unattainable. You know?
Part of me wonders, like, is she talking about, other stuff that isn't gaming?
And honestly, even if they did reach the 1 billion people, it'd be all through Candy Crush regardless.
Yeah,
Or
but is she
most of
talking
it.
about TV shows? Is she talking about setting up Xbox as a social media platform? Like, she can't be talking about 1 billion gamers, especially not 1 billion core gamers. That's pure insanity, right? Isn't it? No?
I
1
mean,
billion gamers seems impossible to me, but I think there's only 2 billion gamers on the planet, and that's if you include the hyper casuals. I don't know.
True Hero says id posted on X pretty much saying they're fine. They did. They did post that. Kuhl says, please stop calling layoffs being fired. Jesus.
What's the
I,
diff?
I guess. Well, there
I mean,
is some
the effect is
terminology
still.
between like being laid off and being fired. Usually, being fired implies that you did something wrong. Layoffs mean just like, hey, we don't got a job for you anymore. Fired is like, hey, you took a shit in the customer's food. You're fired, right? There's usually a distinction between the two of them.
How did you come up with that as an example?
I don't know. I was thinking about the report that Taco Bell had to remove a whole bunch of ingredients because of the parasite that causes explosive diarrhea. So I was just thinking about that.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear about this?
No.
Yeah, Taco Bell.
Explosive diarrhea?
Taco Bell had to remove, I think, from all their stores, or at least I know here. They had to remove lettuce, pico de gallo, onions, guacamole, and a couple other ingredients because of this. There's this parasite, I guess, in like the contaminated food that basically gives you explosive diarrhea, which is like odd
Oh
considering
boy.
that's what Taco Bell's known for, is to give you the shits. So there's like a whole bunch of cases everywhere. And yeah, basically like they had to remove those things. So I was thinking about that and I was just like, oh, what would someone get fired for? You know?
Okay. Well, that's I suppose unfortunate. I guess. I don't know.
Are you gonna go to your nearest Taco Bell and get some tacos?
There is no Taco Bell in Germany,
Mm.
but I had Taco Bell when I was in Hawaii, and indeed, it did make me go to the bathroom. So there you go.
uh, Alvin, he
It
says.
was delicious though. It was worth it. It was worth it. I would go to Taco Bell again. I liked it, man.
Alvin says, every time the would you buy a console for this one game is asked, it's a little bad faith. There's no one game, it's a catalog that brings people over. Absolutely 100%. Although I don't think Gene Park was arguing in bad faith, because he did mention, like, what if the game also wasn't on PC, which is, you know, Xbox and PC had kind of been intertwined. And I do agree with you, like, there is no single game. Although, I guess maybe you could make an argument about Grand Theft Auto. Like, if Grand Theft Auto 6 was exclusive, like
Mm.
if you owned an Xbox and Grand Theft Auto 6 was exclusive to PlayStation for a year, would you buy a PlayStation if you didn't have one to play it? Because I know some PC players will. Maybe Grand Theft Auto is the only one, but yeah, I mean, you're not really. Nobody's gonna buy something, a platform for just a single game, especially when the prices are what they're at. But you know what?
I don't
People.
know, man. Some people will. Some people with like fuck off money. Like my uncle, for example. My uncle bought an Xbox just for Starfield. He's a huge sci-fi nerd and he loves Mass Effect. And he was just like, "Yeah, I'm buying an Xbox just for
Okay,
Starfield."
yeah, I mean, a very small minority that has that type of money, but it's not like realistic for millions upon
Well,
millions of people.
sure, but like there's another problem with that. It's like he bought it only for Starfield, and that's it. So if you're selling your console at a loss, and someone buys it just for one game, you've actually lost money. You really wanted them to buy into the whole ecosystem and have it as their default, because like with the margins the way they are, one game, a user buying your ecosystem for one game is not enough. It's still not going to be profitable. They need to become like a core user, really. And for that to happen, Xbox needs something more than just a few games. They need an X factor. They need some kind of new system feature which people can't ignore. You know, and that's really the question for me is like how are they going to grow that? Because I don't know if like I don't know what they can come up with, but I think that's why Asher was hired because she, you know, she's got expertise growing, you know, unique features out of nowhere. I think that's why Minecraft is going to answer to her now, and I think they're going to cook something up with Minecraft to that effect. But we're getting off topic here slightly.
Yeah. No, people buy systems for like the whole library of games. And that, I mean, I've always said that. Like what Xbox needs is like a whole string of great games where it's like you're undeniable. Like you need to have this because you're missing out if you don't. It's not just one
Mm,
game. It's 15 games. It's like if you don't play this game, you can't talk about it. You got FOMO because you can't talk about it on X and make YouTube videos about it. It's like, but do they make those type of games? No, I mean like a lot of their games come and they go, and nobody even wants to talk about them because nobody really even played them, right? So yeah,
mm.
I agree with you, Alvin. Cool says, would you buy an Xbox as Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Doom, Quake, new Tony Hawk prototype, etc. was all exclusive? I mean, they definitely would all help. Um, do you remember what I said to you? I said this to you before about Doom, and I said to you, because remember we were talking about like, oh man, Doom: The Dark Ages didn't really seem like it did very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, why? We were talking about like, well, why was that is? And I said, if you just removing the sales for a second about like Game Pass or whatever, I sort of wonder what it would have been like if like Doom was an exclusive, because games that are exclusive tend to be like they get a lot more
Have
hype
a cachet.
than like multi-platform games typically. Like there's a lot more
Yeah,
advertisements around them. Like would Doom: The Dark Ages have been like a more highly like sought after
I do think
game?
it's possible.
But I know,
Definitely possible.
and it's like, did the multi-platform? I mean, I know it's always multi-platform, but like, the multi-platform stuff hurt. Which I don't really think it did. I mean, Doom being as big as it was like, yeah, we're not gonna do this. But I sort of wonder, like, if Doom was exclusive, how much different like the talk around it would have been. Um,
Mm,
but I guess we'll never know, or maybe we will in the future.
yeah.
Griffin says, any idea if they plan to release those new Black Ops ports on Xbox and Switch? Back and Pat version is played with hackers, so we need the port on Xbox. I don't think so. I think there's no plans. Which is a shame, right? Because they probably would make a lot of
Yeah.
money.
I'm gonna research this. I mean, things are a bit chaotic right now at Xbox, as you might understand. So like some of the stuff that I've wanted to research, like the Black Ops thing, future plans, hardware, all that kind of stuff. Because of all the chaos, it's been kind of hard to cut through some of that right now. But I'll try and look into it because I tend to agree that Microsoft's basically handed PlayStation exclusive here, which is the opposite of what Ash's stated strategy is. So I'll endeavor to look into it. So bear with me on that.
Clout Lord says, you guys received the same secret email as Mag? I have no idea what secret email Mag got. So
yeah, no idea what that is.
yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I get a lot of secret stuff all the time. I just don't talk about them. Or I talk about them with my friends. But I definitely
Must be
don't
nice.
talk. I definitely don't talk about them on a podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Secret email. A guy named Jojo says, "Did flying crying dance move Saving Private Ryan win?" I don't know. He's not at PlayStation anymore, so did he? And I mean,
Yeah, what's he doing with himself
a
these
lot of
days?
fans do believe that the PS5 generation is like the worst PlayStation generation ever. So maybe not.
Do you think it is? Is it the worst generation ever?
Well, okay, I didn't play.
Or are people just saltier than ever?
I didn't play. I didn't have a PS3, so it's tough to say between that. But I would say it's not as good as the PS4 generation. It's tough to really remember the PS1 and PS. I would say it's not as good as the PS2 generation. That's for sure. PS2 is like an all timer. I you'd have to ask like a bigger PlayStation guy who's been around, who's played all the systems. But I mean, for me, just off the top of my head, yeah, it's behind PS2 and PS4 for sure. And I'm not sure it can catch back up realistically. And maybe that's to do with the fact that a lot of the games, like a God of War sequel, like Spider-Man sequel and stuff, and they don't really have the same magic they had when they 26 like God of War 2018 came out or whatever. But I mean, they were like Sony was on a hot streak there for a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think Painful Discourse says, do you think Death Stranding 2 will come to Xbox? I think so. I guess the question though is how long? Does it take the same amount of time Death Stranding 1 took, which was 5 years? Very well could be. But I think it'll come. It's just a matter of
yeah, it will come.
Just a matter of time.
A long amount of time, I think.
Yeah. Spoon says, what if an annualized Fallout from different companies like COD turns out to be good? I would prefer that over one every 15 years. Yeah, I mean, I think people would say, would you rather have an annualized Fallout or one Fallout every 15 years? I think most people would probably choose an annualized Fallout because at least they'd have something to really enjoy every year, even if like the quality decreased.
I think a lot of people like there's like two different audiences, isn't there? Like some people in the hardcore would rather wait and have something like super high quality, but then there's like the quiet, the silent masses who just want, they want to play the new FIFA or the new Call of Duty every year. They don't really.
Yeah, we call those ball and gun
care
gamers, Jez. Ball and gun gamers.
Ball and gun gamers. I've not heard that, but yeah, I mean, basically, that's
anybody that
like me. I'm
anybody that wants
play
to
World
play
of Warcraft
a
every
sports
season,
game
no matter how good it is.
COD. It's if it doesn't have a ball and a gun, they don't care.
Oh man.
Okay. What else we got here? Mr. Tapwater says now would be a great time to revisit Back Compat. I think they're going to revisit Back Compat during the 25th anniversary. I mean, I've been saying that for a while. That's just kind of my guess. What better time would it be to celebrate 25 years of Xbox than like adding more Back Compat stuff, right?
It'd be great if they hadn't laid off the guy in charge of Back Compat, who'd been there for 37 years.
True. Yeah,
but
it would be.
One thing I'm kind of researching right now, which actually, should I say this? No, I think I won't say it.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it because it might not be what I think it is. I need more information.
All right.
Well, I'll talk about that in the future.
If you need more information, then so be it.
But I'll say this though: there's some interesting things that I'm researching about what they're cooking up with Back Compat. Or celebrating Xbox's legacy. Put it that way.
Oh, is that the thing you told? Is that the thing you told me about?
Yeah, okay, I just need more information before I can put it out there. Really.
Yeah, I would hold on to that one because you want to know why? Yeah. If you said it, it'd be on it'd be clipped in like 2 seconds. It'd be on Idle Sloth's Twitter. Everybody'd be talking about it. There'd be reports on IGN and all these different websites. And
yeah, I need more. I need more. I need more information.
And if it was wrong, you'd have Jason Schreier coming out here being like, I know for a fact it's not happening. And then you'd be like, ah, fuck.
I need more information on that one. But
I just got dringed.
I've seen some interesting things.
You'd be like, I just got dringed.
Just got dringed? Yeah. Dringed? Is that the thing now? Getting dringed?
I mean, I just made that up.
Well, it's a pretty good thing to make up.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about from these layoff situation?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing to really remember for me is just like these are real people with families and being laid off, and we often talk about it in terms of like, how does this benefit me, as gamers? And there is an aspect to that. We've invested money in this platform, we invest money in the games, and we have a vested interest in the health of the platform and all that kind of thing. But I wish people would be a little bit kinder. Some of the stuff I've seen like on the internet about all this stuff, and it's not just like kindness for the people that are laid off, but kindness for the people that are still there. Like the fact that people are sitting there unironically saying like Xbox deserves to die. There's still thousands of people working there. Like, you're mad about the layoffs, but you want Xbox to die so even more people get laid off. Like, I don't get that mentality. But it's the internet, isn't it? So internet's gonna internet, bro.
Yeah, they definitely are, right?
Yeah. Let's do some more super chats and then Patreon Q&As.
Yeah, well, we do have a ton of Patreon questions, so we probably should start them now. We got like 27 of them.
Oh my god, I think that's the most ever.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about this for for a little bit longer. So if you guys enjoyed the show, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out our sponsor, surfshark.com/XB2 for 86% off 2-year deal, and patreon.com you can /XB2 where you can support us directly. So all right, we got one here from Logan Myers. Says, hey guys, hope all's well. Is there a realistic possibility for Activision Studios and others with an Xbox to take a crack at Halo? Or will it remain confined to 343's Halo Studios? This is kind of like one of your rumor you talked about last week, huh?
Yeah, so I had the Vegas rumor, and I did say on the show repeatedly that I didn't believe it. It was just kind of one of them. There's so much info being thrown around right now, and that was one of the rumors I heard. But again, it was one of them. Like, do I actually believe this? And the answer was no. I don't know how they're going to structure Halo. It does seem like Halo Studios avoided some of these cuts, and it kind of makes sense if the plan is to grow Halo. Like, if you're going to grow Halo, you kind of can't be out here killing what's left of Halo, right?
I mean, they said Doom and Quake, and they cut the studio that made it. So, I mean...
That is true, but I would argue the opportunity with Halo is, you would think, is bigger if they can nail it. than it is with Quake at the very least. But anyways, I don't know exactly what they're gonna do. Personally, for me, I would like to see id take a crack at Halo. To be quite honest with you, um, I would like to see another studio have a go at it, even if it's a spin-off. You know, we've said on this show for years, what would like a Halo ODST from id look like? You know, as a spin-off, because I do think Halo is one of those franchises that has been disgustingly mismanaged, awfully mismanaged, and the opportunity like has really slipped through Xbox's fingers over the years. You know, the people who were in charge of leading that are now gone, and now we've got like a new sort of leadership layer at the studio, the guy who led the development of Master Chief Collection, or led the fixing of the Master Chief Collection, I suppose I should say. But you know, I honestly don't know. I'm still researching the Halo stuff, so I suppose stay tuned for that.
All right. We got Diego says, "Sup guys, thanks for making my Fridays go a little faster. My question to you guys is, how long does Xbox stick to this new plan of theirs? With the statement Asha made of wanting to have 1 billion users a day, it reminds me of the 100 million Game Pass users by 2028 statement Phil made. These unrealistic expectations they put on Xbox just sets them up for failure, in my opinion. And with console not moving for Xbox or Sony, I don't see them hitting those numbers. And if Amy Hood is the profit monster, you say, I don't see her being patient with Xbox's new plan again. What do you guys think?" Well, that is the conundrum, is it not?
Yeah,
How
I
long?
suppose. Yeah, it's the runway, really. You know, Satya did say internally in the Q&A that they were long on gaming. Now, but Satya says a lot of fucking things. He says a lot of things, man. So you can't really take anything that Satya or any of them say at face value. They're under pressure right now. The share price is looking spooky because investors think that Microsoft's artificial intelligence plans are potentially bullshit. you know, to not to not mince words. You know, and I know people who support AI are going to be triggered by this because they really, it really feels like there's this sort of AI cult growing, where if you criticize AI even vaguely, even if you're talking about the realities of it, people get really triggered and upset because people are so sensitive these days on the internet. But there's a hardcore reality here, and you know, and this isn't a criticism of AI necessarily, but it's just a hard reality that investors aren't necessarily excited about Microsoft's AI plans. They are offloading their Microsoft stocks and putting it into Google because they think that Google is the winner, potentially going to be the only winner from all of this. And they think Microsoft spent too much money. And still spending too much money. I think they said that they're planning to spend 180 billion on data center infrastructure for artificial intelligence specifically, right? That is a huge bet because the value proposition from artificial intelligence has not yet materialized, right? And if Satya spends all this money and the return on that investment doesn't materialize, Satya's going to lose his job. They're going to lose their job. So part of me wonders, like, you know, Satya might be long on gaming, but like if this AI thing doesn't pan out and Satya loses his job, will the next guy coming in just be like, okay, well, this is all about the share price. We don't really care about gaming because gaming isn't the hyperscale opportunity. It's all about these ridiculous hyperscale opportunities. And I think that's why Asha talks in terms of 1 billion users, because she's trying to hype up investors and make them think that there is a hyperscale opportunity here. Because the whole stock price revolves around hyperscaling opportunities, these unrealistic expectations, the fact that like there's going to be infinite growth, all this stuff. I think when she talks about 1 billion a day, she really is speaking to investors more than anything, you know. And it's kind of sad that we live in this world where they have to do this stuff or feel they have to do this stuff because of the share price, because of the stock. And you know, I suppose there's a ton of uncertainty right now. There's so much uncertainty about the way all of this shit could go. It just all remains to be seen, and we're just, as always, we'll be there to discuss the fallout from it.
Yeah. I am Chuck Dub says, "Dearest Rand and Jez, as beloved as Phil Spencer may be, Is he equally the villain of this Xbox reset? I mean, definitely Asha's throwing previous administration under the bus. That's for sure.
Sure is.
It's hard for me to point the finger any other direction aside from that of Phil. The stories seem to paint the picture of Phil being too chummy with devs and obsessed with the survival of Game Pass. What do you guys think? I
I
mean,
think there's definitely I'll go on, Rand.
well, yeah, I mean, with the picture they've painted with like we invested and we want to do this with Game Pass and multi-platform. Yeah, it definitely throws a lot of decisions that Phil made, being like he made these bets and guess what? The bets didn't pay off. And now the bills come due essentially, right?
Mm,
And maybe one of the reasons why Phil retired so suddenly outside of it leaking was that he knew he was going to have to do some of these things and he just didn't want to do them. Like, I mean, would you want to? I mean, all he's been doing like the last 3 years was laying off people and apologizing for it. And it's like now you got to even lay off more people. You got to get rid of 4 of the studios that you purchased back in 2018. It's like, yeah, it's basically undoing everything that Phil did. Now, Game Pass is still there. I don't really see them unwinding that because it's a constant revenue source from them. Now, do they change how like day one games work? Maybe eventually. We're already seen it with Call of Duty. Do the
mm.
economics still work if like you're not growing to 70 million subscribers anymore and you're stuck at 30? Like, do you need to make some changes in that regard? I don't really know, but maybe it's something they're looking into. But yeah, I mean, Asha basically painted the picture and saying it's the previous administration's fault. You know, there's 14 layers of bureaucracy between people that can make decisions. I mean, I don't know if that was set up during Phil's thing or if that's just a Microsoft thing in general.
Honestly, it's a corporate thing. Like I'll tell you this, like in my company recently, I've been asking a question internally at my own company. I've been trying to find out who's in charge of monetizing vertical video. Windows Central. And I've been passed around 4 different departments so far, trying to figure out who's actually in charge of this, who owns this part of the business. And this isn't a company with hundreds of employees, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, you know. So I think there is a corporate thing where it's just like there's so many departments in inertia, and I suppose like best intentions that just don't pan out, you know, especially in companies that get older over time. And I do think there is an aspect of this, like where you're friends with people and you're friends with entire teams, and you don't want to lay them off, you know, and maybe things can start running away from you. I guess, you know, it's a corporate thing to some degree, but I suppose it really does remain to be seen, like if they've overcut, I suppose, you know, is this the right strategy? Is this the right future for Xbox? You know, we're going to be waiting to find out how it all goes down.
Yep. We got Murray who says, hi there. In the article about id, you wrote that the number of employees is roughly the same as it was in 2016. Could Asha have meant exactly that by reset, including reducing the headcount at most studios to the level of, say, 10 years ago?
I mean,
I
I
don't,
don't necessarily think.
I don't
Sorry,
think
go
it's
on.
that. I don't think it's that on the nose. In regard, you know, like we need to reset. So reset everything back a decade. I don't think so.
No, I don't think they've been that thoughtful about it. I think in the case of id, it's, you know, US based versus, you know, European based. Some of that is definitely an aspect of it. But I also think it's like during the dark ages, they felt like maybe the investments they put into it didn't result in additional revenue. I think it is just spreadsheetification, you know. It sucks. It really does suck, but yeah. I mean, it's going to be really interesting, like once all the dust settles from this, what is the actual plan for growth? What is the actual plan? Asha said in the email, she said, we'll return to growth in fiscal 2027, right? So I presume some of that is from laying people off. You don't have to pay
Yes,
people, then yeah, you get more profits, sure.
and some of
But
that's
like,
and
what
a lot of that's from Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, probably. But it's also like, well, okay, fine. But what is that? What is the actual plan to fix the existential crisis they're in? And the existential crisis being, you know, where are the new users coming from? That is the real question that the whole industry hasn't answered yet. How are you gonna get those younger audiences, like the Gen Alphas or the younger end of Gen Z? You know, because the older end of Gen Z is like pushing 30 now. They're getting to unk status. But like the younger generations, like all they do is play Roblox. And the reason they play Roblox is less because of the gaming aspect of it, and partially because of the social aspect of it. Like it's their social media. Roblox is the social media that generation owns. Their parents aren't on it. Even the millennials ain't on it. It's their social media. You know. So like, can Xbox do anything to compete with that? And if so, what does that look like? That's kind of like, the harder question potentially that Ash is going to have to answer.
Yeah. Sick and Tired says, "Hey guys, with a bit more time passing since Phil and Sarah moved on, with their decision to go multiplayer, surely they knew it would lead to a massive decline in Xbox console. With that in mind, was Phil happy to see the console die a slow death for the sake of the PlayStation sales of software? Did they know that they had, in essence, signed the death sentence for the console, or did they actually think they could have their cake and eat it too?" I mean, I don't know
I
the
think
inner working of Phil's mind, but go ahead, Jez.
I was going to say, I think they were just leaning into a trend that they believed they couldn't fix. So I do think that Phil had this defeatist attitude, and we saw that from the kind of funny thing, right? But Phil could also be absolutely right. Maybe there's no way to stop the bleed. You know, maybe that's like why they were doing some of this stuff, and it's like, well, we need to figure out a way to make Xbox sustainable in the long term. And the way to do that is to, start growing on the platforms now before it's too late, I suppose. So I do think Phil thought there was nothing he could do. I also think Phil was wrong. I think there is something that they could have done. Um, and I think it was, it was in taking some of those hits and having better marketing and, doing more on the social side and doing more to target younger audiences. That's what they should have done, in my view. But hindsight is 2020, and I'm not running a huge company. I don't have access to the books. It's easy for us to sit here on a podcast and say like what they should have, could have, would have done. But that's just my opinion based on what I've seen. And it does seem like Asher is very much more in the other direction, which is like we can compete in console. And maybe there are things that Xbox can do that PlayStation can't do in a situation where memory costs so much more. This is something like we don't really talk about or consider, is that Microsoft potentially has, because Microsoft is one of those hyperscalers buying all the memory, maybe they've got leverage over the price of RAM more so than Sony in some ways. You know, maybe there's some kind of X factor Asher can leverage to sort of leapfrog Sony. And we were talking earlier about the whole discs thing. Could Microsoft do something with discs and the whole debacle there, the debates there? Could Microsoft do something there to leapfrog Sony? Clearly, Asher thinks the answer to that is yes, or she wouldn't have accepted the job. You know, she had a job at the AI stuff, which is was clearly lucrative and was clearly like going to be something that could make her career. If she could figure out the whole AI stuff, but she chose to come to Xbox because I suppose like being able to fix Xbox would be an even bigger feather in her cap career wise. If she can fix Xbox, she could potentially be the CEO of Microsoft someday. I think so. Clearly, she's got a plan. We just don't really know what it is yet.
Yep. Nitram says, I'm having a hard time seeing Xbox's way forward. Is it Game Pass or exclusives?
Same.
With Series X at only 34 million units, reverting to exclusives can't be the fix. That's why they went multi-platform to begin with. Cheaper hardware seems impossible, so I hope they go fully open and multi-platform. Focus heals around that, and stay adorably all physical. What do you think? And isn't it kind of bad that the road ahead is so unclear? Well, yeah.
Sure
Jez
is.
just sort of talked about that, but I think the idea of like adorably all physical, I I I don't think that's the case. Um, I think at best maybe they'll do back and pat stuff, but I sort of feel like they'll just go in line with PlayStation and everything's digital. I mean, the way Asha sort of talks about it, it seems that they kind of are more leaning in the way of being a platform and you need exclusives. Otherwise, like, why are they doing it? But you're right in the sense of like, well, what about the hardware? Like, if the hardware grows all this sort of stuff, but if what's the pricing on the hardware? Is it? I don't know. That's why it's very interesting because eh, you can see the problems, and it's like, what are the solutions? And but we're not in any position to make any of them, and we don't have the books to know what what we need to do, or like the money coming in and the money going out. And I don't know, but I'm very interested in finding out over time what her vision is. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she sort of admitted in the letter that going multi-platform was a problem, right? She included it in
Yeah.
her thing. So, are we to assume that since it was a problem that they're going to pull back from that? And I sort of wonder, we've already seen some journalists and how they've reacted with them pulling Gears and Clockwork Revolution. It's like the end of the world. Like, what happens if they pull all their games? Like,
Elder Scrolls,
what
man.
happens if the
Can you imagine?
Obsidian? Yeah, what happens if Elder Scrolls exclusive? What happens if the Fallout game from Josh Sawyer and Obsidian's exclusive? What happened if they just turn everything back into exclusives? Like, are a lot of the journalists gonna flip their shit? I don't know. I think because there was some thought, there was like, oh well, yeah, a lot of those guys don't give two shits about Xbox, and there was like, oh, we got the games, I don't need to work. But now it's like, oh fuck, like they might go back to being exclusive. I don't want to talk about Xbox and cover this stuff. They're a lame platform, so I don't know what they're gonna do. Um,
Yeah.
Silas says, hey Rand and the engaged one. Over the past few years, two of the biggest issues with Xbox have been piss poor marketing and questionable studio management. Yet Aaron Greenberg and Matt falling upwards booty remain. To put a twist on this issue, what would you consider their successes? Well, I don't know if we know really what Aaron Greenberg works on specifically to say what of his marketing stuff is a success, but we can definitely say if he had anything to do with a This Is an Xbox ad, that was a complete and utter catastrophe. So
Yeah, it sure was.
I couldn't tell you what Aaron Greenberg's failings or successes are because I just don't know I don't know what his job is. I don't know what he does. I don't know like what
He's
marketing.
chief of staff, isn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know if he necessarily does the marketing. I need to figure that out. It's kind of weird because I've
But
known
if
Aaron
he's in
Greenberg
charge of like,
longer than any other exec.
yeah,
But he's
I don't know.
one thing I do know is like when I was looking at LinkedIn, a lot of the designers who were responsible for This Is an Xbox were laid off. So, but the thing is, someone approved that shit. You know? Someone along the chain thought that was a good idea. So, take that for what you will, right?
As for Matt Booty, well, I mean, if you're asking me for what Matt Booty's W's are, uh, well, if just in general, like before he joined Xbox Game Studios as like the head, I mean, you can't deny what he did with Minecraft. He was the head of Mojang,
Yeah.
and Minecraft became an even bigger like Minecraft became the juggernaut that we know it is like under him. So you can't take that away from him. But like when you talk about Xbox Game Studios, it becomes less clear because Halo, the whole Halo Infinite debacle was under him. Like Gears kind of sort of declined under him. Forza Motorsport basically doesn't exist anymore, and that was under him. I mean, hell, four of the studios that they purchased that he want like make games for, like Undead Labs didn't even release a game under him. Baseball. I mean, I guess they released State of Decay 2 in 2019, so but still, like State of Decay, like Undead Labs didn't release anything.
Mm.
Um, I guess you could say Forza Horizon. I mean, Forza Horizon became absolutely massive, He joined in like 2018, so I guess you could say like yeah, Forza Horizon was massive, but I don't know if you're looking for anything else. I mean, the last Call of Duty destroyed everything, but do you blame him for that? Was it already in development? I don't know. I don't know how much input he had on the Call of Duty stuff, and if he did have input on it or whatever, well then like that's a big L for that. Bethesda. I mean, Indiana Jones was great. Uh, you could say like the decline of Doom, was that under him? Like I don't really put Redfall or Starfield under him because like they acquired them and came out a couple years later, so I don't necessarily blame Booty for those things. But I don't know. Like, do you see any other wins besides Forza Horizon? Is there any? I mean, maybe like the World's Edge stuff with Age of Empires. Maybe. I guess you could
Yeah,
probably that's a
Age of Empires
success.
did well. Yeah, that World's Edge wasn't touched in these layoffs. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough, man. Grounded as well, I
Yeah, grounded,
suppose.
grounded.
Thing is, it's been a volatile industry. Like, how many Western companies out there can you really say have had like a successful streak recently? Like Ubisoft's on its deathbed. EA, like, Dragon Age is dead. Dead Space is dead. Mass Effect, if Mass Effect doesn't do well, that's going to be dead. And BioWare's going to be dead. It's what Western publishers have done well. Part of me is like, was there just like this mass going out of touch in Western game dev, which is certainly something a lot of people say? Or was there just so much competition from other forms of media? Or was it just like indie devs were delivering these VR experiences? Like, I'm playing Palworld right now. Like, I bought a server. Palworld was made by a team of 20 people originally. The team's going to be very much bigger now since it sold tens of millions of copies. But like these sort of like smaller, cheaper incumbents, Japan is resurgent. Like, this is the year of Capcom, man. See, Capcom has just shipped win after win after win, and to the point where like they are going back to reinvest in some of their other projects, which didn't do as well. Like, you know, I didn't think there was going to be a Dragon's Dogma expansion, and we getting one. I don't think they could do that if they hadn't had so many other wins under their belt. And maybe Dragon's Dogma 2 goes on to be like actually like really good because of the investment they're making. So I don't know. It's really tough to put all the blame on a single person. I do think like the concept of the fact that no one really wanted to accept responsibility for Redfall, was kind of like, how was that allowed to ship? In the state that it shipped in. Like, why even bother shipping a game like that? You're just kind of harming your brand at that point. And then stuff like Keeper and Kill, like, does that not just harm the perception of what kind of quality you can expect from Xbox? So I suppose there's obviously blame to be laid there, but I'm just wondering if it's like a single person or just a collective mismanagement.
Yep. What else we got? We have James says, "Hi Jez and Rand, can you provide some clarity on the whole Josh Sawyer Fallout situation? Seems like he had a Fallout adjacent game that Todd and BGSG rejected. Is this going to be an FPS type game or Baldur's Gate 3 type game, isometric? On paper, this makes 110% sense, but I wonder if there's still bad blood between the two studios." So I think I
Oh
saw,
man,
I think I heard
sorry, go on.
Jason talking about this, or maybe it was Chris Avalone. I think it was Chris Avalone actually, but I mean, Jason originally said like Josh Sawyer's working on the Fallout game, but he's already been working on it for a couple years, and it was something. It wasn't Fallout, but it was kind of like thematically similar, so it's kind of like easier to turn into Fallout. Like Asha came
Yeah,
in.
so yeah, this is like, I think I talked about this on Ultimate, or I talked about it somewhere, but this is what I heard, and I heard this like a few weeks ago, was that basically, uh, whatever this Fallout thing is, this has actually been in development for a couple of years. And it was sort of like, it's been developed under a sort of generic post-apocalyptic brand, pending approval from Todd. So it was like, if Todd thought it was good enough, this is my perception of it. If Todd thought it was good enough, then it will be approved and become Fallout. If he didn't think it was good enough, then they develop it as their own IP, kind of like separately, like Wasteland or something like that. Something that's very similar to Fallout potentially, but not actually Fallout in name. So it does seem like either Asher has just been like, stop being so precious about this. You guys shipped Fallout 76 for God's sake. You know. And Fallout 76 was a mess at launch. Yeah, it's better now, but it was a mess at launch. So maybe they've just forced it through, or they've just been like, actually, yeah, this is good enough to be Fallout now, or something else. Like, I don't know for certain on that because I don't have I got two sources on that, but like the some of the things that Jason and Chris potentially have been saying with regards to this kind of elevates how much I believe this rumor that I got about it. So yeah, will it materialize into Fallout? Will it be something else? Because I always thought like the Outer Worlds was kind of Fallout adjacent-ish. You know, it was like sort of irreverent. It was sci-fi. It was like, you know, it was in space, but it kind of had that Fallout DNA, I think, at least. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think there's like, I don't know. There has to be. This narrative that they didn't want to work on Fallout is just ridiculous because they've said publicly repeatedly they would work on Fallout again. It does feel like Todd's been the gatekeeper of what that looks like.
I mean, we
and
know
Todd,
he doesn't want people playing in his playground, bro. I mean, we know that.
And I do think like Todd probably has a disproportionate amount of political power right now because of the Fallout TV show. Like, say what you want about Fallout 76. Todd produced the Fallout TV show, and I bet he's been really anal about the details. And now he's like, "Oh, this is my baby." He goes to the events for Fallout TV show, all the rest of it. So clearly, he's probably got like the whole TV aspect of this is like that is core to Ash's strategy, is having these transmedia opportunities, right? So he has probably a lot of political power right now to be like, well, if we release this, if this Fallout is mid, say for example, I'm not saying it is, I don't know how good it is or good it isn't, but let's just say for the sake of argument, if Obsidian's Fallout game is mid, does that harm the brand of the TV show? Does it harm the Fallout brand all up? You know, I think it's silly to be precious about that, given that they shipped Fallout 76 in the state that it was shipped in. Todd owns that. Todd owns that failure. And yeah, they fixed it, but it took years. I don't think anything damaged the Fallout brand like Fallout 76. So I think they should stop being so precious about it. You know, let Obsidian cook. Because Obsidian's still a fantastic studio. And, you know, I wouldn't say no to spin-offs. You know, I said before on the show, I'd love to see In Exile lead a sort of isometric remake of Fallout 1 or 2 or both. I'd love that on the Wasteland engine. That'd be amazing. That's kind of like my dream game, to be honest. So let them cook. Stop being so precious, and I suppose we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean that's what Chris Avallone was reporting, was that basically Bethesda kind of put the kibosh on it being Fallout. So, but now it's Fallout
Yeah.
again because I guess Asha
It's
came
true.
in,
I think it's
and
true.
that's the thing is like Phil and them probably respected, or at least like respected Todd's wishes, and Bethesda maybe had more control over stuff. But like Asha doesn't care about. She doesn't have a relationship with Todd. Like, you know, Todd and Phil are best
No.
friends. So she comes in and she says, she looks around and is like, why isn't there a Fallout game in development? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, definitely.
we're putting. It
Can you
doesn't
imagine if like, can you imagine a scenario where like Nintendo was looking around being like, where's the Mario game? Where's the Zelda game? Can you imagine that? You can't really imagine it, right?
No, I can't really imagine it.
No.
Batman Beyond says, hey Rand, please talk about how awesome X-Men 97 Season 2 is. I haven't watched it yet. I'm waiting for more episodes. and then I will watch it. That's how I typically watch my streaming shows. I wait for almost all the
X-Men
episodes to be out. X-Men 97
X-Men
season
what?
2.
What's
X-Men
that?
97 season 2. It's fucking
What is it?
awesome.
What is it? What is it, bro?
It's an X-Men cartoon show, anime show, I guess.
Cartoon?
Yeah. It's great. It's absolutely
Hmm.
fantastic.
What's it
Um
about?
X-Men.
Is it R-rated or is it like for kids?
I mean, I guess it's more like PG-13, I guess. I wouldn't say it's for kids, but then it's not R-rated.
Hmm.
Chris
Is
M
there
says,
gore in it?
yes, yes. Chris M says, hey
Oh, I'm
guys,
in.
which had been a better week for the industry? It seems both Xbox and PlayStation are largely shedding experimental projects and falling back on the traditional powerhouse games, exclusivity, and continued push for live service. This feels more like a survival move at the potential cost of growth due to the current economic situation. Are we on the verge of an industry wide reset? I mean, yeah, people have been bringing up,
Hmm.
are we gonna have another crash? And I mean, I need to look at the jobs and stuff that have been lost, and uh, I don't think you'll ever really get them back. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we on the
It's
verge of a reset? I don't really particularly.
um,
I don't know. You know what?
no,
Ask me.
I think it's already here, to be honest.
Ask
I
me
think it
again. I know. You know what? I need to see how people react. I got to see how expensive the next consoles are. If like PS6 and the Xbox are $800,000, then I'll be like, oh shit. This might be really, really bad. You know what I mean? I don't know. I sort of,
mm,
I'll kind of like hold judgment until then, really, because I don't know, like a reset or I, if there is, it's not going to be like it was in what was it, 84 with ET and all that stuff, right?
yeah,
Was it 80?
it's not gonna be an implosion, but I think there's definitely something to be said about like, you know, we've some people have suggested this was like COVID overextension. So during COVID, everyone was stuck at home. There was a lot of venture capital being thrown around for games, and there was this thought process that COVID was going to create a new generation of gamers that were going to be gamers forever, and that just hasn't happened. So does this mean that like are we resetting to pre-COVID levels of employment? I mean, possibly. I think Xbox is still like, even without Activision Blizzard, I think Xbox is still bigger than it was in previous years and employs more people than it did in previous years, even without Activision Blizzard King. So I do think like that is some aspect of it, but you've got a confluence of like mitigating factors here. You've got tariffs, you've got supply chain issues, you've got the RAM apocalypse. There's a lot of just generalized economic disruption right now, impacting a lot of industries, not just Xbox or gaming. PlayStation's the so-called market leader, and look at what kind of layoffs and studio closures they've had. It's uh it's affecting everyone in different degrees, I suppose. We saw Embracer Group shrink. We've seen EA cancel shit. You look at Ubisoft. Ubisoft's on its knees. Nintendo's share price is down 50%. 50% year over year. So it's hardly like what's going on with Xbox is in a bubble.
Yeah. James says, Jez, one more Fallout and an Elder Scrolls question. Have you heard if Tim Kaine will join Josh on this Fallout project? Are you hearing if the remaining ZeniMax ESO team is now helping with Elder Scrolls 6?
I don't know what's going on there. Like one of the things here is like the ZeniMax online studios layoffs. Like they've been pretty hefty too, and you kind of sit there like thinking, well, they don't have a new project lined up, so like what are they going to be doing? And then like Tim Kaine, obviously one of the OG Fallout creators, and he said they weren't working on Fallout, but it does sound to me like they probably were working on it, sort of, with this mysterious project. So if he wasn't working on Fallout before, he probably is now, but I don't know for sure exactly.
Goggles Lens says, as you both probably know, I'm super happy Double Fine went independent. Now I am super confident in them, and they can make it in this common in this economy, not particularly, but it might make them use their big IPs like Psychonauts. Hopefully, a Psychonauts 1 remake for some good P&L, or maybe I'm just coping. What do you guys think? Crowdfunding can also help. We're talking about tipping developers in the past, but not if it goes through the platform holders. Do you guys think a Patreon type thing for developers would work? I'm super glad Double Fine is independent, but we will see what comes from them, and most likely soon, because whatever this game they were making in the background could come. Also, they need to build out their own hype for their games now. I mean, if anything, they'd return to Kicks. Didn't they create Fig? Didn't they create like a whole new platform? Isn't that
Yeah,
one
they
of the
created a
things?
whole they created a whole platform for kickstarting projects.
Yeah.
So
Um.
Fig or whatever it was called. So I imagine they'll go back to crowdfunding. I imagine maybe they can raise some money. Maybe do like I say, there's not a lot of venture capital. All the venture capital is being thrown towards artificial intelligence right now, generally speaking. But Tim Schafer's got a lot of friends in the industry, so maybe Phil drop some investment, something like that. So Kickstarter, I suppose, and then they can have a direct relationship with their audience rather than the burden of expectation that comes with being, a big Xbox studio, I suppose. I do think, Rand, there's something to like when you are part of Microsoft. I do think like there's an unfair expectation placed on you because it's like, oh, you're part of Microsoft, a huge mega corporation, Whereas like indie devs seem to get more of a pass, you know. Am I crazy in thinking that?
What do you mean
So
review wise, or how people view indie devs versus how
just
people
just
view
just
Xbox
just the
companies?
perception, of like the game, I suppose.
Yeah, but that goes
Like,
but that goes both ways because sure you could look at it like that, but then you can also say like for instance Compulsion Games, if you're indie, you're not taking 7 years and spending $100 million on a game. Like that's only
mm,
possible because you're with Microsoft. And like with Double Fine, I'm sorry if like Double Fine was in business for themselves, like indie wise, and wasn't underfunded by Microsoft, like they wouldn't. I honestly don't think they would ever release a game like Keeper, or even like a game like Kiln. Like maybe they. I know there's like Kiln. They were sort of working on it before they got purchased, but I don't really think that type of game would ever really see the light of day because like Euro Studio basically is gonna lives or dies on it, right? So you sort of need to make something that people are going to want to play. And I don't, I know like when I think didn't Schaefer say like one of the reasons he signed with Xbox was like he was kind of sick of pitching games to publishers consistently and constantly and getting turned away. And like, yeah, we
yeah.
get signed with Xbox and they help us with Psychonauts 2. And then it's like we have the two games that we put out, but would any other publisher out there have, said, yeah, let's make a lighthouse walking sim? I don't think so. And I think it was just the right place for them because Phil and Matt were very much like, oh, don't worry about being profitable. Just make sure we need games for Game Pass and make sure it's creative and stuff. And, with them being independent, it's kind of like the onus is now on them where it's like, you better create something good and that's something people want to spend their money on because there's no Microsoft to fall back on, and like you can't
It does
take.
feel like all of this is a big signal from Asher to the studios, being like the era of creative small art projects is over. You have to make things people actually want to play. You know.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean the era of double A is essentially over. So, yeah, let's see.
she said she wants to give the floor to for double A games and indie games. She said she doesn't want to compete with those. She said that market should be owned by them, which is like, I suppose, in reference to the fact that Xbox is you know first party has basic third party sales has basically collapsed. You know, but yeah.
See what he says. Hello, dear Jez and Rand. When do you think we'll see the Game Pass changes that have been hinted at? I feel like the rumor was summer, but we're running out of time. Are they just waiting for the layoff stuff to cool down, or what? Thanks. What Game Pass changes is he talking about? That was hinted at, Jez.
Oh, so Ashley was suggesting that they were gonna, make Game Pass more flexible. Remember,
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. So when will we see that materialize? Um, I mean, it's hard to say. You don't. It's hard to say because like I say, there's a lot of chaos right now at the whole Xbox everything. Really, there's just this like huge layer of chaos going on right now. So, but it does seem like they're starting to wind up, talking about other projects again, like Brad Rossetti, the Xbox Insider program guy, was talking about there's going to be a major build next week. I think that's Positron. So like the disc to digital program. So we're going to see that probably materialize next week. I think the Positron stuff. Um, and then you've got like the Game Pass changes. Maybe we could start seeing some of that later on this summer. But I also think you know, they're trying to do a lot right now. So like, is it too soon to expect that? I don't know, but it's definitely something that's coming.
Pat Rack says, Jez and Rand, I hope you all doing well. Not so much a question as a scenario for me this week. Imagine at next showcase they have a one more thing. Asha welcomes out Don Matrick, and his line is, if you want access to your physical media, we have a console for you. And then he gestures over, meme style, to the new Project Helix console with an optional disk drive for back compat, obviously. Buddy, I like one that only works with a live audience. I think it's sort of lost in a digital pre-recorded sort of thing. Um, Also, I think most Xbox fans don't like Don Matrick, and I sort of feel like just introducing it as a thing for back and pat kind of is not what like people. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that scenario, so maybe it's because I'm not a fan of Don Matrick, but I also
There's no chance Don Matrick coming back.
yeah
No chance.
yeah, I don't think Asha would be like, let's bring back the guy that everybody kind of hates from 2013, just to do a stupid meme.
Yeah.
Let's see. Darian says, hey, Justin Rand, despite the Xbox layoff, it appears that Sony's end of physical media is still dominating the news and with good reason. Like Random All Digital, switched to digital purchase at the beginning of Xbox One Gen. I've learned a few things about Sony's policies. Sony's refund policies are terrible. Once you download the game, no refund. Sony has massive restrictions on keys. G2A has 7 times as many keys for Xbox as PlayStation. Iniba has 16 as many times keys for Xbox as PlayStation. From Jason Schreier, Sony will make roughly 2 times from 2 times from third-party games sold digitally as physically. 30% of digital sales equals $21 for a $70 games versus approximately $10.50 for physical. With their announcement and clear benefits to their bottom line, Sony hasn't announced any benefits for customers. I have to figure that digital game sales are partially driven by keeping up with used prices, and with no physical sales, Sony could keep their game prices high for longer, and if they raise prices, customers have no other choices for games that play on their PlayStation. With all that said, I'm really eager to see news of Positron. If I can, in fact, buy an Xbox Series X game and get the digital license, it opens up deals for used copies and Black Friday sales at retailers without sacrificing any of the benefits from the digital purchase. I'm really curious to see whether the blowback causes Xbox to reconsider support for physical, whether it be built into Helix or offered as an accessory. How do you see this ending? And Rand, will you consider physical purchases again if Positron offers you a digital license in addition to the physical copy? No, I will not. I will not. It's also like the space issue, you know? And
Yeah, like I've got hundreds of games. Like I don't like. I know American houses are bigger than British houses, especially. So like for me, it's like it's a hard space issue. I do not have physical space, you know. So like for me, where I come at it from is like I want it for people who want it. Like I want it for the community that wants that stuff. But I do think there's there is like an economic thing here, which is correct, which is like, if everything's digital, then potentially pushes the price of games up, especially when Sony's very stingy with third-party resellers compared to some other platforms. And also we have less rights over digital. Like Sony cancelled movie licenses recently, and that's kind of like a big hint that when you're digital, you don't own anything. Like one thing I've been researching like over the past year is how much of your digital life you can lose if you get banned. Like from Xbox Live. You get banned on Xbox Live, you don't just get banned on Xbox, you get banned on OneDrive, you can lose all your photos, you can lose all your stuff. So I think there is this growing concern about like how much power we give into these companies, and their server infrastructure, and how little rights we actually have on the other end. I do think there's legislation that needs to play a part here. Like legislate about like you should be able to sell your digital content. You should be able to resell digital content. And we should have more rights over what we buy. If that whole thing is, if buying isn't ownership, then piracy isn't stealing, right? I think that's a fun meme, but it's fucking true, man. In my opinion. So I do think there's a few aspects to this on both ends. Like one aspect is like, yeah, okay, well if the devs are getting more money, if the business is more healthy, then maybe it leads to better games. But will it though? Or will it just lead to more money for shareholders? Which is kind of like, I suppose, the issue with some of this stuff. I do wonder how Xbox is going to react to this because, like I say, I do think there's definitely an opportunity here where Microsoft could capitalize on the negative blowback that PlayStation's experienced. It's definitely some opportunity, but there's also like real unit economics with regards to making physical discs, making optical disc drives. It really is the disc drive stuff that's really like the main issue here. There's not going to be companies that make those drives, but maybe Microsoft can open source some of the tech and just be like, well, if some company out there wants to spin up a factory to make these drives, we'll make them compatible. I think that's the best you can possibly hope for, but I think even that is a little bit far-fetched probably at this point.
Okay. Let's see. Governor Grimm says, Jez and Rand, I don't have much faith in longevity of Xbox. That said, I'm still considering games that are play anywhere. I'm highly anticipating Star Wars Zero Company, Castlevania Belmont's Curse, and Hellraiser Revival. Only Castlevania is play anywhere. With Xbox having no reliable long-term plans, I'm hesitant to buy in the platform. My question is, what is the long-term outlook for play anywhere? Jez, does Hellraiser look worth the wait?
I actually played Hellraiser. I played Hellraiser at Summer Game Fest, and it's a very, very interesting game. I only played like a little bit of it. It is, I swear to God, I will be shocked if that game doesn't get banned in some countries. It is the most violent, sexually violent game I've ever seen. It's like that isn't just some kind of shitty meme on Steam, like some meme game. It is just like the movies, right? So maybe they could get away with it on that basis, like, hey, well, the movies are like this, But I was kind of concerned, like, how does it actually play? It felt a lot to me like a more action-oriented Resident Evil 7. Like, it does play like a shooter, but you don't have, like, infinite ammo. So you kind of, like, you are using a lot of melee weapons. So it's like, it's somewhere between, I suppose, Resident Evil 7 and then maybe something like Dead Island almost, I want to say. It's a very cool game, what I played of it. But I also wonder, like, how derivative is it going to be? There was this section that was clearly ripped off from PT, for example. And I was just like, this is so blatantly PT. Like, couldn't they come up with something a little bit more original? So, I don't know. I imagine it's probably going to review in the 70s at most. But I do think it's going to be... I do think people who are into that kind of game are going to really enjoy it. Especially if you're a fan of the Hellraiser IP, like I am. So, yeah. But what was the other part of the question? Or was that the whole question?
What's the long-term outlook for Play Anywhere?
That is interesting. Ash has not really commented on Play Anywhere. Obviously, that was a big proponent of Phil. There's a lot of companies that are investing in Play Anywhere, and there's a lot of companies that are putting games on Xbox PC. I do think PC is genuinely the biggest opportunity Xbox has. And there's things I've heard about ways they want to grow. They want to grow their PC gaming footprint even beyond the Xbox PC app. So, stay tuned for reporting on that. But it does feel like the opportunity on PC is really, really big, especially if you're talking about the next gen consoles being too expensive for most people. You kind of have to meet them where they are, and if that's on PC, then so be it. So I do think there's a big opportunity there. I don't know what Asher thinks of Play Anywhere. It's something to find out, but maybe if I get an opportunity to interview her or something in the future, then we can find out a bit more about what they're thinking with regards to that.
All right, we got Shay Elephant. Happy Friday, Rand and Jez. Thought experiment this week. If Xbox chooses to capitalize on the physical disc problem and have a disc option for Helix, do you think those PlayStation-loving media and content creators will switch to Xbox? No. Or will they just be a hypocrite and stick with the discless PS6? Thank you for the good show as always. No, I don't think they'll switch.
No, I don't think they'll switch. I think a lot of people are with the disc stuff. I do think some of the content creators are kind of virtue signaling, and they won't put their money where their mouth is, to be honest. But the fact of the matter is, I think even a lot of disc-based players, there's a lot of digital-only games, and nobody's giving up that, even if you are mostly a disc-based player. So I don't think people will switch. I really think Xbox needs some kind of X factor, something new, something social media adjacent to grow, and they need to look beyond millennials to do it, because I think millennials are locked in. They need to look to younger audiences. So I often think, look at things like Skylanders, and can they leverage Minecraft, some kind of exclusive feature to Xbox using Minecraft? Like, for example, imagine if there was a Toys to Life feature for Minecraft, which you could use to target kids and be like, okay, well, you buy this skin, it's a physical toy, and then you can unlock it to use in the game, but you have to unlock it via Xbox or Windows device, right? I think that would drive Xbox sales on the low end, especially if there was a cheaper device option or via the cloud or something like that. That would definitely drive younger audiences to Xbox, I think. But does Xbox have the vision to do that? The ingenuity? The runway? That's the part that I doubt.
Vito says, I know Jez doesn't have the best sources there, but thoughts on Obsidian? Pre-COVID size losses because Only Grounded has been a recent success. Bloat? I mean, I think they, lost a quarter of their people? But
Yeah.
honestly, I'm down for a Fallout from them. I didn't really jive so much with Outer Worlds. I really couldn't get into it. I liked Avowed, but I'm not someone who's like, let me get Avowed 2 right now. Like, it was like, yeah, I mean, there's things they could make better for Avowed 2, so there is that. I've never played Pillars of Eternity. I know people love Pillars,
Pillars
but
is great.
I feel
Genuinely
feel
awesome.
like Fallout's like the best course. Like you have a team do Grounded because it's still a success, and then you like Fallout. Like I think that's what people want, right? I think that's the
Yeah.
best course of action. And then if it's super successful, maybe it's like Avowed 2's ready to go and you could put that out. And I don't know if you just start spinning up another Fallout game or something, or maybe you could have you know, what do you think this Fallout game is, Jez? Is this Fallout New Vegas 2? Is this Fallout 5? Is this some other spin-off? Like what do you think? Like it can't be Fallout 5, right? Like that has to be done by Todd and Bethesda. Although
I've heard that it's not isometric. It is like a real Fallout game as well, the modern Fallout games. I've not heard it's like tactics. I've not heard it's spin-off. I've not heard it's like an action Fallout. I've heard this is a true core Fallout game. So, maybe it is Fallout 5, man. I imagine it won't be called Fallout 5. It'll probably be called like, I don't know, Fallout Chicago or something like that. New Chicago. Would you like a Fallout game in
yeah,
Chicago, bro?
I don't know because I don't think Todd's gonna do Fallout 5. I think Todd's gone once Elder Scrolls 6 ships. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised
Mm,
if like we hear something in the coming weeks where he's like Todd's retired. You know, I mean, like they've gutted
yeah,
a lot of the studios there, and you know
yeah.
Phil's gone and stuff. So especially if like Elder Scrolls takes another 3 years, I could easily see him being like, "I'm out," or
I'm out.
maybe he just
I'm
really
done.
really loves his job and wants to ship this game before leaving. So maybe it's he's there to finish Elder Scrolls and then he's gone. Um, Laser
Jay
Wolf
World in
says,
chat says, Avowed sucked ass, uninstalled after playing for 15 minutes. Bro, I was in the same camp. I tried playing Avowed. I hated the intro. The characters were
"Oh,
lame,
the intro's
but
awful."
the intro's awful. But I decided, you know what? I'm gonna, because people say it gets good. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna stick with it. I plowed through and I did the first area, and now I actually really like it. So, you know, you can like eventually get rid of the characters that annoy you. You can just like you can be a dick in some quests, which is really funny. Like the whole thing for me was like, does this have a genuine Obsidian branching narrative? And it does. There are some quests in that game where you can be such an asshole, and that's kind of my litmus test for these kind of games. Like, how much of a dick can I be? And you can be a huge dick in Avowed. So I did get into it, and I kind of feel like I didn't give the game enough time. So I would genuinely say, like, if Avowed seems like a game that you might enjoy, but you really hated the first hour or two, stick with it. It genuinely does get better. And then like Obsidian's like the things that Obsidian are known for do eventually shine through. But
We
Lazar
have
Wolf.
Laser Wolf. Everyone will apologize to Jed now that id confirmers report themselves, right? Were people mad at you?
About what? Oh yeah. I mean,
Mm,
yeah, people thought I was defending Microsoft when I put out there that the studio was the same size as it was when they shipped it in 2016. But like that was like stuff that were kind of being shared around internally, you know. So for me, it's about compassion for like the people that remain, and you know, it's awful for the people that got laid off, but there's still like dozens of people employed there, and they deserve to feel like they've got a chance at longevity too. So it's kind of why I put that out there. Um, we'll see what happens.
yeah, he says, anyways, just wanted to thank Jez for waiting for all the details before publishing anything, unlike most other people. Deku says, hello, boys. Hope you're having a good week. I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth out yesterday, so I have a nice long weekend. Have you guys gotten them removed? How was the experience for you? I have not.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've still got my wisdom teeth, but it's really weird. Like they're sort of they're hidden underneath the gum. So like when I was growing up, like they were sort of pushing through my gums, and it really hurt. But now it's just like my gums have kind of gotten used to it. But like when I put my tongue there, like you can feel where the gums are just ripped and shredded apart. I don't know, but I know a bunch of people that have had them out.
Yeah.
Have you still got your tonsils, Rand? That was the
No,
thing when
no,
I was a
no.
kid. Loads of kids were having their tonsils removed.
I got my tonsils removed.
Oh, you did? How was
Yeah.
that? How was that for you?
I don't remember. I mean,
Were you really
I
young?
was really
Oh,
young. Yeah.
yeah, fair enough.
Sharky says, "Hi guys, Halo is set to release on PlayStation for the first time ever this month. If it sells 5 to 10 million copies, can you really see them making the next one exclusive?"
It's the real conundrum there, isn't it? It's like there's obvious immediate return on investment when you make a game exclusive. You are cutting out the sales potential, you know. But at the same time, your best return on investment is on your own platform. So you kind of have to invest in growing your platform. Someone probably would have done the math, I would hope, about what Microsoft can potentially do to actually find growth using exclusives, right? I don't think Clockwork Revolution is going to move the needle. And to be honest, I don't even think Gears E-Day is going to move the needle. You need a consistent cadence of exclusive games, both first and third party. And then you need to take the risk and put something like Elder Scrolls exclusive, right? Elder Scrolls potentially would move the needle, and that's the only one really. But then it's like, is Elder Scrolls not been so expensive to develop that you need to make the most return on investment? Or maybe they do something like make it exclusive for a year or something, and then ship it on PlayStation after the fact. Kind of like what they're doing with Death Stranding 2. Like, I don't know what their long-term plans are, but I've heard that like the plan isn't. It's not just 2 games. It's kind of the opposite to what Phil said, where Phil was like, "It's only these 4 games." Whereas like with exclusive, it's only 2 games. It's not just they're not just doing 2 exclusive. They are thinking hard about what else they can do here. And I think it really could be games like The Elder Scrolls, but you know, it really does kind of remain to be seen. We'll just have to see what they end up deciding is appropriate for the platform.
We have Frosty who says, "Hey guys, feels like the groundwork is being laid to sunset day one on Game Pass after Asha's layoff memo, and Satya's comments about Xbox and subsidization. So my hot take is that by Helix launch, Asa will have stripped away day one games on Game Pass and possibly fully rebang Game Pass to something else. What do you guys think?"
Well, that's kind of like the other angle of this is like if you are relying on sales on your own platform, do you not potentially have to maximize those sales by taking a game out of Game Pass? You know, there's something like Gears of War E-Day, for example, now that it's not going on PlayStation. Because I think one of the other aspects of this is PlayStation sales were probably partially subsidizing Game Pass. You know, and I suppose Microsoft's thought process was, okay, we'll get the sales revenue stream will come from PlayStation. The value revenue stream will come from Xbox. And because people feel like they can get it cheaper on Xbox, they'll buy an Xbox. That clearly didn't work, you know? So does Game Pass have to change? Do they have to like be like, okay, well, you know, some games, tentpole exclusives, those are no longer going to be on Game Pass. So things like Gears E-Day, now that like it will have to rely on sales instead of Game Pass, will they do that? But then if you do that, you kind of break in the whole point of Game Pass in the first place, and you just kind of you're devolving back to Sony's model for Game Pass and EA's model for Game Pass, which is like it's kind of like a vault of older content, a way to get a revenue stream from people who either were never going to buy the game in the first place, but maybe they'll subscribe and leave that subscription rolling, you know? So I don't know what Asher's thinking is on this. We'll find out together though, very soon, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Game Pass thing is interesting. I don't know. I do think there'll be some changes. Maybe they keep day one because the reports that come out that they're not stopping investments in Game Pass, so you don't got to worry about that. Maybe maybe some games will be day one from their first party, and maybe some won't. Maybe they'll remove all their first party games, but they'll still have like third party games on there as a reason for people to still be because like I don't know, you sort of remove your own games from the service. That definitely makes the service less valuable and not worth the money
It
that they're
does.
currently charging. So are they gonna drop? Would they drop the price again, or would they just be like, well, no, it's still like right? I don't know. I feel like you'd have to drop the price again. So I don't
Or
know.
just sort of get rid of Ultimate and just focus on Premium or whatever it's called.
Maybe. Maybe for Game Pass to really grow, it's got to be like $15 or $10 or something. Maybe it's got to go back to the days of it being really really cheap, and having like dollar deals or something. But then, like, if you don't have
I think
like,
that's a big factor here is that there's so many subscriptions too. And like when people are picking and choosing which subscription to buy, they're probably looking at something like Game Pass and being like, well, I only play 1 game a month anyway. I don't need 300 games. They're probably looking at it that way. Like I'm looking at Netflix and I was like, I don't use Netflix that often. Maybe I watch 1 show a month. I've cancelled a bunch of my subscriptions. I cancelled Disney Plus. Never used that. You know, the one I use the most, probably even more than Game Pass, is YouTube Premium. And Surfshark VPN. Rah, rah, 86% off with Xbox 2. I
yeah.
don't know.
Um, Chicken Point says, "Greetings, fellas. Jez, please accept my belated praise for correctly predicting the Steam Machine RRP. All the best, Chicken Point." Well, there you go, Jez.
Machine what?
You predicted the Steam Machine price point, correct? He's giving you his
Oh yeah, yeah,
props.
yeah. Well, I'll be honest, I didn't predict that at all. Someone pretty much just told me. They told me it was going to be more than 1,000. But I was like, do I want to put that out there? Because everyone would be mad, because the hopium is that it's going to be like $300 and completely destroy the traditional consoles. But you know, it's just it's economics. It's like they don't have the scale. They don't have the scale to deliver a lower price point, and they don't have the RAM to deliver a lower price point. And Valve themselves said because it's an open system, they can't subsidize the hardware, so they have to make a profit on the hardware too. So, I think if anyone was sort of looking at it in an honest way, it was never going to be less than 1,000. It was never. That was just purely unrealistic, unfortunately. But we'll see what
Uh,
happens over time. If this whole AI thing explodes, if it all implodes, then maybe there'll be a surplus of RAM and maybe prices can come down. I don't know.
Ben Wilkins says, "Hey guys, with everything that has happened, is it really that hard for people to accept the Xbox of 2018 and the Xbox of 2026 as completely different goals? With how large it has grown, focusing on small AA games can't work anymore, and we need to fully focus
Mm,
on our big franchises. Sucks for the layoffs, obviously. In a perfect world, we would get both. Thanks for everything you do for the community." I mean, God, I feel like I've been saying
thank you.
exactly that for years at this point. So I agree with you. Omen says, "Do you think Microsoft is under
Yeah.
evaluating the risk that these laid off employees may now create a new studio that outshines them? For example, I'm sure the laid off id Tech employees could build a brand new engine and make a spiritual successor to Doom. Certainly possible. Certainly possible. I'd love to see it, but I mean, I will. Jez will know this. A lot of the ex Blizzard people, I think, on to create like like a couple new studios, and like none of them has succeeded.
Yeah. Um, there was a lot of the StarCraft team tried to create an RTS, and that was a huge catastrophic failure. Mike Morhaime founded a publisher, and I don't think they've delivered anything of value, like any certainly not a success story so far. So yeah, it's but it does happen. Like Blood of the Dawnwalker's coming out next month from ex-Witcher CD Projekt Red devs, and by all accounts, sounds incredible.
Yeah. People
So
are
it
talking
can
about it being
definitely
a game of the
happen.
year contender. Now, like, will that translate to being like a sales success? Potentially. I
Sales
mean,
success. Yeah.
it is also a new IP at a time, like at the end of, like in September, where there's a whole bunch of games coming out. So is that the game that gets skipped over? To its credit, it is releasing in the beginning of the month. So it's not like it's releasing towards the end where everybody's already spent their money.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see X Doom people go make their own studio and make something cool. That'd be awesome.
mm.
We have here good old Conway says, "Hello, Rand and Jez. It looks like the heat waves whipping Europe are here to stay for the summer at least. I know Rand is used to it, so this question is for Jez. How are you handling the heat in Germany? Are your folks okay in England?"
Uh, the heat wave hasn't dropped here yet, but it's kind of weird. Like my house in Germany, like I'm in South Germany, so the houses are kind of designed to manage heat a little bit. They're like insulated, so what you do is you open the windows at night to let the cold air in, and then you close the windows in the morning to trap the cold air in and keep the hot air out. And that works in this house to some degree. But the British houses are not designed like that. So they let all the hot air in and it stays in and it's awful. So a lot of the British people I know are suffering pretty bad right now. And I was on the Windows Central podcast yesterday and Zach Bowden was there. We were on camera and Zach Bowden was visibly struggling. I think he said it was 35 degrees Celsius in his office. So yeah, it's not been fun, but Europe's infrastructure is designed for cold weather, so there's no infrastructure for air conditioning. The houses are not designed for air conditioning, and they don't have air conditioning integrated. But I think more and more people are going to be like looking to this because I read that France had 3,000 excess deaths because of the heat. So that's like excess deaths is like above average deaths. So like while not directly attributable to heat, it's kind of like it's kind of implied that people who were like already ill or old or fragile or frail, the heat might have been a contributing factor to them, passing away. So I do think Europe's probably gonna have to change its thinking about AC because it's getting fucked up, to be honest.
We have Gustav. It says, "Hey fellas, Erling Haaland is an Xbox fan. He has the Xbox fridge and even said he hopes Xbox sponsors him one day. Given his superstar status, the fact that he appeals to multiple age groups, and his general meme ability, surely this is the most perfect tee up for Xbox could wish for. Thoughts? Is he like the Norway dude? Is he like the
Yeah.
okay.
So he's a Norway's star striker. He also plays for Bayern Munich. He's absolutely incredible. He's like a prodigy. Um and he's huge too. It's like he's but he's also like he's really good at social media. So he's kind of become the poster boy for the whole industry right now. Um but it's kind of like, will Xbox capitalize on this? My guess is going to be no, because he plays for Man City. Oh, okay, who plays? I'm thinking of Harry Kane, right? Harry Kane plays for Bayern Munich. He played for Dortmund with Jude Bellingham. No, he plays for Man City. My bad. But but yeah. In any case, I think the answer to that is I think no, and the reason I think no is because Xbox is dumb and they won't capitalize on anything because yeah, GG. So not optimistic about that, and also he's probably very expensive.
Yeah, I would imagine
So
he's very
yeah,
expensive, right?
yeah.
Uh
And he should be. He's a fucking legend.
okay, let me see if we have any more. Did I miss anybody's? Let's see. Oh, we got Rave Damos. He says, "Hola, I'm not defending Xbox cuts, but if they bought studios like Arcane Ninja Theory who needed a lifeline, isn't it likely cuts changes would have happened anyway under different ownership? Xbox has taken hits today justifiably for what was bound to happen yesterday."
Yeah, I mean, it's nobody's got a crystal ball. Would these studios have thrived without being acquired? I mean, some of them definitely wouldn't have. I don't see Compulsion because Compulsion was trying to make traditional core games. Like We Happy Few is not you sort of like indie game. It was kind of like one of these ambitious kind of like we want to be double A, but we don't have the funding kind of games, right? So personally, I don't see how some of these studios would have survived if they were independent or joined EA or some other company, right? But nobody's got a crystal ball. Nobody knows the alternative. I see a lot of people complaining about Activision Blizzard right now, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, do these guys even play a Blizzard game? Like, Blizzard's done incredibly well outside of the Kotick regime, and I kind of feel like nobody can. I feel like nobody can deny that personally. I don't really feel like I don't feel like Blizzard suffered at all from being out from under Kotick. But, Blizzard hasn't had cuts yet, but they might end up being part of this cut regime. It's tough, but
Yeah.
it is annoying that people just look at everything in a vacuum and they don't look at the turmoil in the wider industry. This is like an industry-wide thing, you know. Do I think Xbox could subsidize a bit more and be a bit more patient, a lot more patient? Fucking yeah, I do. But it's also just a hard reality that the whole industry is having this issue right now. I don't know.
Uh, we got a super chat here from Jet Set who says Microsoft likes to sell controllers. What if Microsoft started a limited run arm to sell us overpriced physical games and still cut the middleman retail? I thought about that, like using like Xbox Design Labs to like, oh, you wanted a physical game of this? Well, we'll do it here, and but it'll be way more expensive, like $120 for the thing because it's like made to order, and it's only like if
That's
you
a great
really,
idea.
really like really want it. So it's like, yeah, it's expensive, but you could have it, But like you
Yeah.
would. I don't know. Is that something that they could do? I don't know. Would there be a lot of people that actually would use it? I don't know, but it was just a thought I had. Mr. Supernova says, "Go woke, go broke." Okay. Death Joker says, "Randall Thor and Jez L communist." Oh, you're a commie, Jez?
Yeah, I'm a commie, bro. I'm a commie,
Mm.
bro.
Mr. Tapwater says, "Recommend checking out Xbox Game Preservation." I think that's a website where you can vote for like the games you want to see go back into
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's right.
Culture Origin says they need to buy Discord and base everything around it. I think they almost bought Discord, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Eh.
well,
Well, they
Discord was like,
tried,
"Hey, buy
or they
us."
used Phil to like, yeah,
Yeah, they used Xbox to get a valuation,
yeah.
which is kind of messed up, really. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
Brian says, "Will the expansion card from Series X work with Helix?" It's a great question.
That is a great question.
I mean, I hope it
Hmm.
does, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
Yeah.
Doom Murphy says, "Hey fellas, just here to say I'm jazzed about Jez." All
Jazzed
right,
about Jez.
jazzed
Hmm.
about Jez.
Thank
Anyways,
you. Someone has to be.
anything else, Jez? That's all the Patreon questions and everything. Is anything else on
Ugh.
your mind?
Not really. It's been it's gonna be. This isn't over. There's gonna be more of this BS.
Yeah,
Just gotta kind of like hope that it leads to a better place.
yeah. What are you
And
gonna
it's
do?
really,
What are you gonna do when the layoffs hit? Because supposedly, Joseph, the person in charge of Blizzard, sent out some weird emails.
Johanna Ferries, yeah,
Yeah.
I reported on. I was the first to report on that, by the way. I
What if
just want
what
to
if what
shout
if
myself out
what
there.
if your beloved Blizzards and stuff starts getting hit with the next wave, and you know,
I
World
wouldn't
of
be. I wouldn't be shocked.
World
I
of
wouldn't be
Warcraft
shocked.
team, gone.
I wouldn't be shocked. World of Warcraft's not going anywhere, but there are some like other projects that were being worked on. Like Blizzard supposedly has a Unreal Engine game in development, which is interesting. Um, so do they pull back on some of that stuff that they were incubating? I don't know, but Blizzard was one of the parts of the business that was doing really well. So I think it'd be reductive to pull that while they're still doing well. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, with all that said, I think this is the end of the show. Uh,
Yeah,
we'll be back next week, probably on Friday, maybe on Tuesday, depending on our schedules. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us to talk about the Xbox reset and all the things surrounding it. If you enjoyed the show, hit the like button, subscribe, check out our sponsor, Surfshark, for 86% off 2-year deal. Surfshark.net/XB2. If you want to support us even more directly, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/XB2. And, we'd love to have you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hope you have a great, great weekend. And keep it gaming, everyone. Later.
keep it gaming, y'all.